Hey, what's up? No, you're not late. Am I late? I'm the one who's late. I'm just getting on now because I have this ritual that I do. I have to turn on my iPad to record the screen in case the TikTok doesn't record my live. So I record it on another iPad so I can play it back after. So, but anyway, yeah, no, I was the one who was late because I was turning everything on and turning on my YouTube channel and stuff. So I'm very, very unprofessional. I'm casually late. How's everyone doing tonight or today? I figured I would do a live. I didn't. Yeah, I'll tell you that story. What's the update with the scumbag with 12,000? It's interesting how many people give me a hard time saying I constantly bring it up and I'm whining. But really, I'm not. I'm actually taking pleasure in actually aggravating him now. I'm actually enjoying aggravating him. And even over the weekend, he got a little aggravation. And because we're not letting go. Yeah, those Patriots, they bummed me out. Their defense was awful today. Awful. The Patriots' defense was awful today. Very, 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 very disappointed in the Patriots. I didn't expect that today. To be honest with you, I was kind of optimistic. But yeah, I'm keeping at him. I'm not letting him and the wife get away with it. And again, what happened was the wife is on the hook for stealing the $12,000 because that was in her name. He's on the hook for the lease. That's why I was able to serve him for the lease. So they're both on the hook, and they're both being chased by two different, people. I'm chasing them, and so isn't now rent relief's going after him. But yeah, I mean, I'd whine over 12. Listen, the richest people in the world are not going to just let $12,000 go. Okay, so it is what it is. I think you're right. Yeah, the Patriots. The Patriots. That's a tough one. It's too bad because they really were on a roll there. They were doing pretty well for themselves. I guess they're still rebuilding. What are you gonna do? You know. Oh, so Comfy Pants 6 got taken down for calling Georgia a loser. So, what's interesting about that? I put my employee party on TikTok the other day. Everyone probably saw it, where I gave out the scratch tickets. I had my employees sitting around the tables. Do you know that got taken down? Somebody reported it for nudity. There was no nudity in that video. So I appealed it, and I got to say, 20 minutes later, it was back up again. So, sometimes if you get something taken down, just appeal it, because I think sometimes people are trolls, haters, whatever, they just flag things just for the sake of flagging things. That's what stinks. Hey, Dover, New Hampshire, how you doing? But yeah. So you like to cheat the taxpayer, stuff like that. So I'm not letting them go. And what's funny is when people say I'm not whining about the 12,000 because I'm going to get it. It's going to take me a little. I'm going to get it. So I'm not whining about it. I will get it. What I'm whining about is the fact that they're letting him get away with it. Okay, the scumbag should not get away with it. That's the difference. But I got to tell you something. It was very funny the other day when he walked right into the office, so what happened was, because everyone's asking me, how did we know that he was coming then, and had to have the constable there? Well, the constable, works for my lawyer. He does all of our serving of different notices, and that's why I kept telling George, make an appointment to come to the office because we don't know when we're going to be there. You tell Andrew when you're coming, and that's how we knew when he was coming. That's what happened there. Oh, really? Okay, didn't get approved and you appealed it? That's too bad. But, yeah, so I will tell you that George, has had a couple of TikTok names. So every time I know that he's on my TikTok, I block him because he puts negative stuff. So I don't need that. So I block him. In fact, he's only one or two people I've ever blocked on TikTok. I blocked one person that doesn't know me, doesn't know my family, but very personal one day. It was ridiculous. So I blocked that person, and then I've blocked George twice now because he actually made up a new TikTok name last week, and I caught him and I knocked him off. He can't help himself. The appeal was refused. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, so. I mean, obviously, I say it how it is, and I worry about getting, crossing the line at some point too. So hopefully, that won't happen. But I'm not lying. Everything I say is fact. It's public record. It's court records, court documents. So all that stuff, So, by the way, this is what my wife gave me for Christmas. She's funny because, she can't stand TikTok, but she gave me, oh, shoot, it's upstairs. She gave me a TikTok shirt. She gave me a TikTok hat, and she gave me this cup. my job is interfering with my TikTok, so which is funny because that's what everybody at the office says. They, when I go to the office, they're like, "Oh shoot, he must not have any TikTok content because he's in the office bothering us." So that's the story with that. But yeah, so for Christmas, I got my TikTok hat. I got my TikTok. My wife got me some really cool chargers for my iPhone, and she gets mad at me, and I don't blame her because she's like, anytime I want something, I just go buy it. So it's hard for her to buy me things for Christmas. But she got me. I've been losing weight. A couple of years ago, I was a 38 waist. Now I'm a 32. So I guess I'm easy to buy for there because she can buy me clothes. So I got some nice clothes for Christmas, which was nice that fit me. And yeah, so she got me. She got me this mug. She got me a hat. I should have grabbed it. It's upstairs, and the and a shirt, a TikTok shirt, which is kind of funny. And last year she gave me a TikTok mug, which is the one in my profile picture. So that's kind of cool that she does that. So even though she gives me a hard time, and she's shy being on TikTok, she always buys me stuff for TikTok. So, she didn't buy me a wig. She didn't buy me a wig, but I guess I could cut the hair off my back and make a wig. But no wigs. I'm bald. In fact, I need I got to do a haircut because what stinks about TikTok? One thing. So like I got the green screen picture on there, right? But on YouTube, I can use my real green screen and I can put videos behind me, and that way I could show you guys stuff. So I might have to set up a TV back behind me. That way I can show you. Like I want to talk about some of the projects that we're doing when I'm doing a live, and I want to be able to point to the project, or the condo, or the house, what we're doing, so I can talk about it. Because I do have a lot of projects. Right now, we have like 9 projects going on, all in various stages of being completed. We have the condo that we're doing. I got 3 flip houses I'm doing. I have 3 apartments I'm doing. I got the 39 unit that we're actually starting tomorrow morning. That's why I figured I'd do a live tonight because, all right, Christmas is over. Now it's back to work, back to reality. And tomorrow's going to be reality, getting back and just starting some of the work, the major projects that we have. The 39 unit that I just bought, there's a time clock there because that place is empty. And, in 60 days, I'm going to have my first mortgage payment. So I have to start renting those apartments because I'm going to have a huge mortgage payment that I got to give to the bank. And they're going to want their money. So that's what we're doing tomorrow. We're going to start working on that. Hey, Phoebe Hines. Okay. How you doing? Appreciate that. Rose loves my content. I appreciate that. And I know I do. Listen, I know I'm off the deep end. Some days I put goofy stuff. I put the word game on that I used to play with my son when he was learning his words in school. That's actually a 15-minute long video. I only put, obviously, the first 3 minutes of it. But I used to do it, I used to do it like Password, and play games with them and make it fun, But anyway, the banks always want, Gladys, they always want their money. The banks always, so, even during the pandemic, the banks, so I didn't need it. I did not need it, but the banks kept offering me, do you want to defer payments? Now, I could have, and there was a time when I should have, but the problem with that is if you defer the payments, they're just going to come after it later. I would just owe it now. But the cities and towns, they are, somebody tells me I owe them $12,000. All right, I'll write you a check right now. The cities and towns, they want their tax money. There's no break there. There's no negotiating with cities and towns. If not, they go to tax sale, and that's it. They go after it. I'm excited to see your TikToks when you renovate properties. Well, yeah, so this week, I will tell you, I'm going to be doing a lot of renovation TikToks this week, just because I didn't do many last week because, Christmas and everything else, but we have so many projects going on right now. And for instance, I'll give you an example. We have 4 apartments right now, 4 rental apartments that we just renovated. And what I try to do is I try to do some of the stuff at the same time. For instance, 4 of them have the base cabinets in. We have to do the granite. So this week we're gonna finish putting the base cabinets in. I'm gonna order the granite. They're gonna come in and measure for the granite to put the countertops in. The reason I do 4 at a time is because I get a better deal, from the granite company because they go from one house to the other. So I'll do that. At the same time, so I juggle my contractors. So, for instance, last week they prepared the kitchens for the cabinets. So now tomorrow the cabinets will go in, and then I can order the granite. While the cabinets are going in, they can go to another property and work somewhere else because there's nothing for them to do now until the granite's in. So that's how I juggle my guys around and keep the projects going. What's going on in nothing yet in Johnston, but I'm hoping for something this week. With the holidays, everyone uses the holiday. When I say the banks, the lawyers, they use the holidays as an excuse not to do anything. So I'm hoping this week there'll be something in Johnston. But I guarantee, listen, I'm going to do lives from Johnston. Johnston is going to be huge on TikTok. I'm telling you, because it's 4 houses, 4 bums I'm going to be evicting. And it's not going to be pretty. And you know what? And I don't mind it. I don't mind it. So since I went on TikTok, because everyone thinks I'm always fighting with my tenants, I want to remind everybody it's only 2 tenants that I have had a problem with out of 300 since I went on TikTok. Now that number is going to go up, obviously, with Johnston because there's 4 tenants right on the same property. So I admit it's going to be going to be more. So I buy my granite. So granite's an interesting thing. Somebody's asking where I buy my granite. I buy my granite through a pro program that Home Depot has. But if anybody knows anything about granite, granite is like diamonds, diamond industry. There's only 1 or 2 major national companies that import and export granite. So the granite comes into the United States through distributors, and they go out to the different granite installers or retailers, whatever you want to call it. So even though somebody might say, "Oh, Johnny's granite has better granite than Home Depot and Lowe's," it's not true. It all comes from the same quarries, all comes from the same place. But I buy mine through Home Depot through a pro program that Home Depot has because it's inexpensive. And I'll give you an example. 10 years ago, before I was really doing the flip houses, way before I was doing the flip houses, we renovated our kitchen here at the house. So I bought granite through a program, through a company, International Stone up in Massachusetts. And we have our granite's called Blue Sapphire. And I think I paid like $65 a square foot installed. Well, Blue Sapphire is still available, and I buy it through Home Depot, get installed through the program at $35 a square foot. Same stuff. So, give you an example on the whole granite thing. The difference is if you're getting a kitchen designed and installed by a design center, obviously you're getting other services besides just a slab of granite. In my case, my carpenters, they're getting the cabinets ready, the floor ready. I just need somebody to install the granite, and we do the rest. So make money. What places in Warwick are cheaper and better? Let me know, because I'm always looking for cheaper and better. Better is better than cheaper, but cheaper and better, that's a good combination. So, yeah, somebody here wants a 6-unit. So what is typical rent for your properties? So that's very interesting because I have properties in all different areas. So I have properties in a very, very wealthy area of Rhode Island, up on the hill, the Waterview in East Greenwich, which East Greenwich is a very affluent area in Rhode Island. Those apartments, it's all relative. So here's what happens. Because they're in a nice area, because they have Waterview, because that, my taxes are high. So I have a 2-bedroom house in East Greenwich. 2 bedrooms. 2-bedroom house. It's a little 2-bedroom cottage with a 2-car driveway, no garage. That particular property, the property taxes are $7,000 a year on this little house because of where it is. $7,000 a year. So think about it. If I charge $1,000 for a month for rent, if I did, which I don't, I will tell you how much I charge. If I charge 7 months, just goes to the property tax to the city of East Greenwich, of course, then I have my mortgage. So it's all relative because the taxes are higher, because it's a higher area. Obviously, I can charge more. So I get about $2,000 a month for rent for that particular house. But that's what happens. But meanwhile, that same house in West Warwick, okay, I get about $1,300 a month for rent in that because the tax is a little cheaper. West Warwick taxes are high though, but a little cheaper. So it's all relative. So when people ask me what do you charge for rent, it all depends on the area, the location, the type of house. Is it a single family, a 2-family, 3-family, 4-family? Because, quiet enjoyment, that type of thing. I left the heat on down here earlier today, so now it's hot and I'm sweating a little bit. So I turned it off a couple minutes ago. How do you do your deposits? First and last, okay. So for residential properties, residential in Rhode Island, you're only allowed to charge 1 month, equal to 1 month security deposit. So if it's $1,000, you're only allowed to charge $1,000 plus first month. Obviously, they have to pay the first month to move in. That's residential. Commercial, you can charge whatever you want. It's what people are willing to pay. If you have a commercial space and it's $1,500 a month and you want to charge $4,000, you can for whatever reason. But residential, the law is 1 month. Some landlords will get away with so. There's things that you can charge extra for. You can charge additional rent. For instance, if you're paying for the heat and the electricity, you can charge security deposits on that on top of the rent. So there are ways of getting around it. But for the most part, 99% of the time, it is equal to 1 month rent is the security deposit. So that's how that works. How did I get started? So I got started in the property business when my audiovisual business, which is really my first business, my first love. I started it years ago. Very stressful business, but very lucrative business. But in 2008, I realized when they had the banking crisis and all the conferences stopped dead in the tracks that I was vulnerable, or my audiovisual business was vulnerable to what's going on in the economy. Of course, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we never pictured COVID happening. But anyway, that being said, that's when I said, hey, I have to start investing somewhere else. So I started taking some of my money from the audiovisual and I started buying rental properties. The problem is, you're really not, in my opinion, you don't make a ton of money in rental properties or a lot of money until you own a lot of rental properties. So the first few I bought, it was really just to break even. I was just happy it was an investment. In fact, it was my kids' college fund. I figured, you know what, let me buy these houses. By the time my kids go to college, it'll be 15 years, they'll be paid for. There's their college fund. So that's how I really started it back in 2008. Then, of course, 2011, 12, 13, I started getting a little bit more into it and buying more houses and the flip houses. The flip houses is what really gave me the cash flow to add to my portfolio, because the flip houses, you sell it, depending on how much you make, I can make 10, 15,000 in one shot. So, I did in 2019 where I did 30 flip houses. That was a great year. The money it made, I bought more rental property. So that's how I keep the ball rolling. I have not stopped that cycle. In fact, if anything, I ramped up during COVID because there were no flip houses. So I started buying more rental properties. That house the 39 unit apartment building that I did the TikTok on the other day, the one we're starting on tomorrow, I actually bought that last February. And this goes back to last February where we entered into the purchase and sales agreement in February. The problem is the seller did not want to close on it until this November last month because of some tax issues. And also they wanted to find another property to buy when they sold me this one. It ended up getting delayed till last week, the closing, because of COVID and related issues. But that's what happened there. Is that Lux, that make money, that new Lux? I know which one you're talking about. So that's the story with that. So somebody's asking me if I got charged for stealing a guy's car. So on my properties, which is private property, what he's referring to is when I blocked in the guy's car who would not pay me the $12,000. I didn't steal his car, I didn't touch his car, never physically even went near his car. Did I block it in? Absolutely. And there was nothing he could do. And the police came, sir, I'm glad you're asking the question, so all my followers will hear the answer. The police came and told him it's a civil matter, there's nothing we can do about it. So you should learn that yourself, because maybe when you don't pay your rent, buddy, your car might get blocked in if your landlord's listening to me. I prefer concrete driveways. The problem is in the north, concrete is very difficult to work with because it cracks, So unless you put it in the right way, you have stress reliefs, you leave space in between the concrete for it to expand and contract because of the different changes in the weather, then concrete is the way to go. I like concrete. I do have my driveway is an asphalt driveway in my house because when I bought it, it is getting old and it is time to get a new driveway, and I'm considering doing a heated concrete driveway, which is funny because I see them on TikTok. So where I share information on TikTok, I learn a lot from TikTok. Funny thing. So I've learned a few things on TikTok, and I've actually bought a few things on TikTok, and I've also gotten e-screwed. So when you buy stuff online, whenever I get screwed, I call it e-screwed, But what happened was just 2 months ago, there was some guy on TikTok advertising these giant 35-foot, inflatable Santa Clauses. So I thought it would be cool to buy them and put them on my ice cream shop just for I bought it back in October. October 20th I bought them. They never showed up. I paid for it with PayPal. They never showed up, so I filed a thing with PayPal. So then the seller thinks they're slick. They send me a fake tracking number, which doesn't go anywhere. So I escalate my claim with PayPal. So last week I got my $197 back. not to change the subject, but what's funny is on TikTok, I do find some really cool stuff. For instance, last week there was a commercial for a little Bluetooth printer that does water resistant Bluetooth labels, and they sell it. They're nice. They hook up to your phone. So yeah, let me buy one. So I bought one for my daughter to stick in her stocking, $40. It's unbelievable. So I ended up buying another one for myself, and I'm using it to label all my little stuff in my studio, where the microphones go and stuff like that. I can label everything. So it was only $40. So you learn things on TikTok. I also, that's where I found my hot tub cover was on TikTok. There was somebody advertising this hot tub cover that goes up and down. It's electric. You just push the button. So it was on TikTok. I was like, that's really cool too. So I bought one of those last year. So that's the story with that. So when I blocked in the car, the guy told me I'm going to get charged. I'm not going to get charged. So I look this way. I've had over my lifespan of being a landlord, I've had over 500 tenants. Though right now I have 300 apartments for rent. People move in and out. I've had over 500 tenants. I've never gotten arrested, never gotten charged with anything. I go by the law. I follow the law. And if I think I'm going to do something wrong, I make a phone call. And I call my lawyer, Steve. Here's what I want to do. He's going to say, Jeff, you're a fool. Don't do it. You're going to get in trouble. Or, all right, you can do it. You're kind of doing you're treading into territory that we've never been in before. Like the blocking in the car one was a good example. That was something I never thought about before, but I thought about it when I did the dumpster, when I blocked in the guy's dumpster, the car with the dumpster. So, okay, now I'm learning something. For instance, in Rhode Island, the squatter's rights and tenant's rights only refer to the leased premises, their apartment, the domicile, or the house, inside the door of their premise. Doesn't include the parking lot, doesn't include common areas, doesn't include, sidewalks and this and that. That's where I realize, I have some more landlord rights that I can exercise when I'm having a problem with a tenant. So that's why I was able to block in the car, because I realized the parking lot is a courtesy. So what we do now in our lease is very black and white. You do have parking if you are a tenant in good standing. A tenant in good standing is somebody whose rent is paid on time, or they have a payment plan with me. With COVID, obviously, we've had a lot of tenants that have fallen behind, and as long as they communicate with us, hey, Jeff, I'll be in next week, we're not going to tell them they can't park in the lot. This rule is for the people that don't pay their rent and hide from us, okay, and don't respond to emails or calls. They ignore us. Now, obviously, at that point, then all courtesy is all lost, and that's how I handle that. So I am black and white with that. It's all lost. So that's what the story is with that. So by blocking his car, there's no courtesy for having them parking in the parking lot. That's his mistake for parking in the parking lot when he's not in good standing with me. So that's the story with that. So what happened was, if you live in New York, in Manhattan, or Boston, or downtown Providence, Rhode Island, and you live in a high rise, you don't have parking spaces. Parking spaces are not a given with any apartment, okay? So people can leave their apartment, they can take a train, a plane, an automobile, Uber, or taxi. So when people tell me, you kept them restricted, what happens if you had an emergency? Well, that's what 911 is for. So for all, the trolls and the haters, because it's Sunday, again, common sense. Not everybody has a car, especially if you live in a big apartment complex somewhere. So keep that in mind. It's a courtesy. The parking is a courtesy, okay? So that's the way that I handle it. Now, this particular person who's trying to fight with me on there, become a landlord, and you can run your apartments the way you want to, and we'll see how long you last. So that's the story with that. So anyway. YOLO Wagons 777. He might be number 3 to get blocked on my TikTok. I don't care. But anyway, I am having a good day. Thank you. I'm enjoying myself right now, because I like when the TikTok lawyers come on and they. I'm not all knowing, and like I said, what do? When I have a question, I call my lawyer and ask him. He's the professional. That's what happens. My wife is an attorney, and I don't even ask her. I call up my corporate attorney, and I ask him, what do you think about this? Yeah, the trolls are back. What's after Christmas? They're back, and of course they've been lonely, because usually the trolls are the ones that are by themselves over Christmas and nobody to be with. So now today they're looking for somebody to talk to and stuff. So yeah, so they're back, which is fine. I do not do Airbnb, but I will tell you, one of my real estate agents does, and he swears by it. He does a lot of the Airbnb, and he loves it. For me, to me, that's not the business I'm in. I like to stay on, what's comfortable to me, what's in my purview. So we don't do it, but there are people that are extremely successful with it, especially in the nice areas. So that's what happens. I have some properties that are water view, waterfront, that would probably be perfect for Airbnb, but they're rented. I got them rented. I'd rather go with the long term guarantee. So that's what I do. You own 5 houses, 4 that you rent, and you would never steal someone. Well, no, nobody wants to steal anyone's property. So here's a good example too. Last week I showed the video. I went by one of my properties, single family home, and obviously the guy that's living there is running a business out of his home, some sort of a trash business or recycling business. He had piles of stuff in the house. So I told him, look, you cannot run the business here. You have to clean it up. I did go by there today, and he did clean it up. I was pretty impressed. I gave him till last Sunday to clean it up, but I gave him an extra week. Christmas. So I went by today and he had cleaned it up. So that was good. But if he didn't clean it up, and here's what my property maintenance, so I have 8 people on my maintenance crew. The rule is if it's not nailed down, you take it. If it's trash, it's trash. If it's good, it goes into our warehouse and let them come and claim it. And that's what we do. Again, that's something I'm going to stand by. I'm going to stick by. I'm not going to change my ways on that. And that's how we do it. Because the very people that leave trash in the way or leave trash outside are the ones that will fall over it and try to sue because they got hurt. So I'm sticking to that. You asked your lawyer. You don't even have a lawyer. First of all, your lawyer is probably a divorce lawyer. That's the funny thing. So here's what's funny. So whenever we have a disagreement with a tenant, I'm going to educate you folks this. So whenever we have a disagreement with a tenant, right? Oh, this is perfect for landlords. This is a landlord, well, actually, this is for anybody. Whenever somebody does that, says, I talked to my lawyer, do you know what I do? Can I have your lawyer's name and number? I'd love to give him a call. And they disappear. There is no lawyer. They can always say, I talked to my lawyer. So we'll have a tenant call us up. I talked to my lawyer, and you can't charge me that fee for being late, and you can't do that. Hey, no problem. Just give me your lawyer's name and number. I'll be glad to call him and talk to him. And I will be glad to call and talk to the lawyer. Because first of all, the lawyer's not working for free, and he doesn't work for me. That means if there is a lawyer, he's working for that guy, right? So I always call the bluff. Who's your lawyer? I'd love to talk to your lawyer. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, as you can see. Andrew is the exact same way. Andrew manages the property, and he supervises the 3 property managers. Well, 2, but we're hiring a 3rd one. He supervises them exactly the same way I would, and he does the same thing. I hear him in his office all the time. Oh, no problem. Give me your lawyer's name and number. I'd love to call him. I love that line because it's a bluff, and they will never, ever, ever, ever. I don't think I've ever gotten a lawyer's name and number because it's bullshit. Okay, so that's what's funny. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's funny. Let's see. Telephone tough guys. You're exactly right. They're all telephone. Same thing on TikTok. Telephone tough guys. And this guy said he'll pay for his lawyer. Fine, go ahead. I like a good debate because then we learn. It sets court record. It sets a precedence for the next landlord, for the next tenant. So it's always good because if I'm wrong, I'll accept it. All right, hey Jeff, you shouldn't have blocked in the car. Well, you know what? I blocked in the car purposely because he was supposed to go to court on Friday. And I will tell you, when we let the car out on the Thursday, guess what? He didn't show up to court. So there you go. So that's the story with that. I do rent to Section 8, yes. So I have no problem renting to Section 8. That question comes up a lot. Now, I will tell you, people have the wrong idea of Section 8. Section 8 is an assistance program that helps people who need it pay their rent. But they still have to sign a lease with me. They still have to go through the background checks. They still have to look. I can say yes or no to rent to them. It's not like I have to take these Section 8 people. It's either very often we say no if they don't pass the background check. For whatever reason, if they've had a colorful past, they're not going to rent from me. So Section 8 is like no other tenant whatsoever. They are exactly the same. They are vetted the same way. And that's just how it is. They have to follow our rules. Now, people think that they have different rules when they're Section 8, especially the Section 8 recipients. Some of them think there are different rules, but they quickly learn that I enforce my rules and I make Section 8 enforce their rules. That's the only problem with Section 8. Sometimes in different cities, they don't want to take the time or have the energy or have the staff. Sometimes it's just a matter of staffing. I mean, it's a nonprofit, so guess what? They where do they cut corners in the staff? So they don't have the staff to enforce the rules. But yes, with Section 8, we take Section 8. I have great Section 8 tenants, and as long as they follow the rules like anybody else, they can stay. So yeah, so this person here that just put that we've had that. So Section 8 tenants, say they're round numbers, their rent's $1,000, Section 8 pays 800, the tenant has to pay 200. We just had this exact same situation happen. Well, during COVID, the Section 8 tenant, who by the way gets Social Security, so during COVID, his income was not affected at all. He still had the same income, but during COVID, he used it as an excuse not to pay his portion of the rent. So think about it. I know it's only $200, but his income didn't get changed. There was no reason why he didn't pay the 200. So yes, after 3 months, we had to evict him because he was just being difficult, for the sake of being difficult. What happened was this: what I find in some cases, and I'm not judging. In some cases, people get jealous of other people getting something they don't have. So, for instance, during COVID, when you had some legitimate people out of work, waitresses, hairdressers, nail salon workers, legitimate people were laid off out of work. Well, they were getting rent relief. Well, now you have a Section 8 person saying, well, why am I paying the $200 portion of my rent when these people are getting it covered? That's the problem with society right now, where people look at what other people have, what other people get. They're not looking at themselves. And so we did have a couple of those situations. Out of 300 tenants, we're going to have some unique situations, and that was one. So that's why, the state of Texas is the best state for a lot of reasons, okay? It happens to be one of my biggest markets for the audiovisual business. We've been extremely successful. So I always hear a lot of good things about Texas, and that's just another thing about Texas that I like. But so what's funny about that, Make Money, is I do want to do that. I said that in January, I am going to have a TikTok get together. People that are local, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, they want to come. I'm going to throw something at a local restaurant and see if people want to come and meet each other and do like a meet and greet and have some fun. Absolutely. I definitely want to do it. I think it'd be cool. I think that'd be really cool. Not that people want to meet me, but I'd like to meet you guys. Everyone has a story. And I mean, I'm talking about myself here and my experiences, but there are so many people that follow me that have probably a lot more experiences, a lot better experiences, some really cool stories to tell, and I think that's really cool. I'd even like to do the thing where you can bring people on live and interview them, and that's one of the things I want to start doing, because I know there are a lot of people on here, maybe other landlords, tenants. So if you notice, I do like to talk about tenants' rights too, because there are a lot of bad landlords out there, and I hate bad landlords because it makes my job harder. So that's why I have tenants. I have people that work for me that are tenants in other properties, and they're having a problem with their landlord. And I give them advice. Yes, I handle it with your landlord. I give them the advice how to handle it. And their landlord may not like me for it, but too bad. So yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's kind of funny because when the landlord's a jerk, there are ways that, of course, from my history, my experience, I know there's some ways that you can really screw around with the landlord and bust his balls. And I've had employees that have had jerk landlords. So now those landlords know to treat my tenants, my employees well, because they know that I'm gonna help them out, and I have in the past. So hey, generic username, that's right. You were on last week too. How you doing? I love that generic username. That's great. That is very, very creative. I like that. Somebody had talked to me about doing a weekly show with sponsors. Yeah, I could do a weekly show with sponsors, or just do a weekly show. I mean, I enjoy doing a weekly show. People ask me, are you getting paid doing TikTok and getting paid to do YouTube? I do get the diamonds and people send me gifts and stuff. I have no idea what it represents. I haven't used it. I haven't spent it. It's in my account somewhere. I'm just enjoying talking about things. It's kind of fun. What's really cool too is I keep a pad with me now, because as we talk, or as I talk, and you ask me questions, it reminds me of things I have to do. So I fall behind on, I forget things. Like tomorrow is a busy day. We just had 4 days off because we had our Christmas party on Thursday, and then we closed on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So tomorrow's going to be kind of a busy day. So I'm writing notes myself of things when you ask me a question, So, So I will tell you, people are offering me, to be a subcontractor painting. I am always looking for subcontractors, even though I have my own full time crew. We are so far behind. We were talking about this last week in the office. I would be buying more property if I had the people that I could use to renovate the property and upgrade them. What happened was during COVID, I couldn't, get people, so that slowed us down. But for me, I rather be more aggressive. I actually just Friday I bought a 7 unit piece of property that I'm closing on in a couple weeks. That needs work. I need to put a fence up. I need to do a driveway. I want to fix the outside of the building. I got another building in Cranston that I bought. That's a 6 unit that I closed on a few weeks ago. It needs paint on the outside. Obviously, it's weather permitting. The inside needs paint. So I wish I had the people to do this work because I would get more aggressive and buy more. So again, I tell people if you want to contact me, it's Elmwood Realty at gmail.com is our email address. That's the best way to reach me is Elmwood Realty at gmail.com. Or just, you can call us too. I mean, obviously we're here in Rhode Island. So if you're in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, you're a subcontractor, you're a painter, you're, electrician, plumber. I can use everybody right now. My guys are just so busy. It's unbelievable. Um, you know, in fact, I mean, they're so busy on Friday. So Friday obviously was Christmas Eve day. Everybody had the day off. All my staff had the day off. A couple of my guys wanted to work on Friday. He said, Jeff, we want to work. I said, fine, you want to work? I'll pay you double time because you're getting paid for the holiday anyway. So you want to work? I'm going to pay you anyway. So a couple of the guys did come in to work on Friday. Let's see, my iPad, I guess, did it freeze or something? I don't know. Looks like I might have frozen my other one. I don't know why. So let me see here. I'll have to look at my little one here. So let's see. What else do we do? How long do you wait before you start an eviction? Okay, great question. So I am by the book. When I say by the book, Rhode Island has a book called the Tenant Landlord Handbook. I follow that book to the T. Now, what happens is this. Our lease lets people, the rent is due on the first. It's really due prior to the first. That's just how the law is. You pay your rent due for the first. But we give people to the third for whatever reason. If they get Social Security, their payment comes in late, we give them to the third. If somebody, because of the holiday, let's say because of next week with the first of the year, maybe their check or something might come in the second or third, fourth. If they call us, then we notate it in their account. We'll let them be late here and there a couple of times. After the fifth, they do get a late fee. Depends on how much their rent is. It's either $75 or $100 late fee. And then they're charged a late fee, but then they have till the 15th to pay their rent. On the 16th of the month, per the state law, the 16th, they get a 5-day demand notice. So we send out an official notice that they have 5 days to pay their rent or we're going to start eviction. But again, at any time they can call us and negotiate a payment plan and talk to us. This is for the people that hide, that refuse to talk to us. I will tell you a couple of extra things that we do. So what happens is the 16th, they'll get a 5-day demand notice. On the 21st, it goes right to our lawyer automatically, and he starts the eviction on the same month. I don't waste any time. The reason I don't waste any time is because they have so many opportunities every day to call, email, talk to us about their situation, and we will work out a payment plan with them. So that's why I do not. That's why I don't. I guess cut a slack or cut a break, if that's what you want to say. I don't do that because of that reason. We have to. We have 300 tenants. We can't be making deals with every single tenant. Now, even with the rent relief tenants, so we had, I think it's over 35 now tenants apply for rent relief. Now, same thing with them. They've struggled. They've been having problems. Okay, I realized that my there we go. My internet is not okay. So what happened was this. I have Wi-Fi down here, but for some reason it has not been working. So I installed a brand new router down here the other day, and now it's working perfect. So now I have a great. I'm not doing the freezing anymore. I shouldn't be anyway. So I just had to go on there and fix it. So that way, there we go. So that's the story with that. So getting back to, so I am by the book. As long as they communicate with us. Now, here's what happens. People that are ignoring us, If the 7th or 8th of the month comes by, 1 week comes by, and we do not hear from that tenant, we immediately call them up or email them. We schedule we'll schedule an inspection of the property. We want to inspect the property. That forces them all of a sudden to answer us. Oh, I didn't know you were trying to reach me. Yeah, okay. So that's what happens with that's how that works in that situation. Um, yes, that's what happened. My TikTok. What happens on my other? See, I think I told everybody I use the big iPad, so that way I can answer the questions because I can't see it. The small phone, my eyes. So I use the big iPad. So that's what I do there. But anyway, so let's see what other questions do we have. So yeah, I mean, with rental property, when you're looking to buy your first rental property, I think that's really cool. Anybody that wants to get into the business, it's a really good business. You have to have, people say, "Oh, I can't stand the tenants." I can, you do have to have the right attitude with it, but you got to treat it like a business. It's like you got to treat it like it's too many landlords. If you're afraid of dealing with the tenants, I say you find a local real estate company agent that will manage your property for you. You can buy it, you can be the investor, but get a local real estate agent to manage it for you. There's the buffer. That way you're not dealing with the tenant, you're not hearing every other sad story why they're late with their rent. Um, and I think that is what I would do. To be honest, that would be the best solution. Is get somebody to manage it for you because if you don't, you do get frustrated and then you end up getting rid of it, and that didn't do you any good. So I suggest that you get somebody else to manage it for you. It can be a very good lucrative business to be in, though. It really can be. But it takes a long time too. So with me, I've talked about this before. If I want to give myself a raise, I'm self-employed. No one's out there just giving me free. Hey, Jeff, here's some money. No. The way it works is if I want to get a raise, I buy another piece of property that might make a few dollars every month, and there's my raise. And that's exactly how I give myself a raise. I wanted to give all my employees raises. So what did I do? That's one of the reasons the last couple of months I bought some extra properties. They knew it. I don't hide anything from my employees. I told them, look, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get aggressive for the next couple months to buy some properties that will increase our cash flow, increase our income, and I will share it with everybody. And that's exactly what I did. It worked like clockwork. That's why in December everybody got raises. I didn't wait till Christmas. I did it at the beginning of the month, December 1st. So that's the story with that. So no, my management. So here's what's interesting. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that make money. So in Rhode Island, pure coincidence. Okay, there is a property management company, a real estate company called Butler Realty. Believe it or not, it's another Jeff Butler as well. Nice guy, good guy. He's a real estate agent. He was in the business far before. He's only a couple years older than me, but he was in the business before me. But he's a commercial real estate broker. He sells real estate. So what happens is people are always confusing us all the time. And I feel bad for him because, where I got 4 businesses and I got all kinds of stuff going on. Plus I have Butler Waste now. But that's why I named my company Elmwood Realty. But Butler Realty is another Jeff Butler. And he's based out of North Kingston in East Greenwich. Really good guy, but that's his business. So he sells real estate and I buy real estate, but we're not related at all. It just happens to be a guy with the same, in such a small state. Figure that one out. So I never talked about that before. But yeah, so that's the story with that. So we get a lot of times when I call to buy a piece of property, people think I'm the real estate agent. The other day when I was closing on that big piece of property, somebody from the bank thought I was the other real estate agent. So no, I do happen to buy a lot of property. There's 2 Butlers. Can you believe it? Even better than that. So my brother Jim Butler, James Butler, he lives in California now. He used to live in Florida. He, I follow James Butler owns Well and Septic Life on TikTok. Fantastic, one of the best people I follow on TikTok. Really entertaining, educational. He owns a business, runs a business, so I hear some of the stuff he talks about. He actually did a TikTok the other day, which I found fascinating, and he was talking about hiring an employee. So in his business, he needs to have on-call people for his well and septic for emergencies at night and on the weekend. So he was talking about interviewing somebody and saying, hey, you're going to have to be on call. And the prospective employee didn't like that idea. Well, it's amazing because I have the exact same situation with me. I got 300 tenants. When does the heat break? 3 in the morning. When does the gas break? 2 in the morning. So when does the power go out? 12 midnight. So I could relate to that when did that TikTok the other day. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, in Texas, the judges don't tolerate the tenants. That's beautiful. In Rhode Island, it's 50-50. It's a crapshoot which judge you will get that will tolerate the tenant's bullshit. It's a crapshoot. The thing I will say is this, because I've been to court so many times and we know the judges now, we know what judge is going to be difficult, what judge is going to be easy. And typically when we go to court, Andrew or I, because Andrew goes to court more than I do now, to represent the company, we will have a plan of action already of what we're going to offer the tenant to either move or a payment plan or, whatever it may be, ahead of time. We try to work it out. That way, we're not really going in front of the judge for a trial. We're going in front of the judge saying, hey, here's how we worked it out, Your Honor. It's all worked out. Sign it off. So typically that's how we do it. We try to have a plan in place. I will tell you at the very beginning, I used to take it very personally when people owed me money. That's why I laugh about the $12,000 because you have no idea. I used to take it in fact, somebody made a comment over the weekend on TikTok and I ignored it. But I will share it with you. So it said Jeff Butler makes all his money suing people. So what's interesting about this, if you go on the Court Connect in Rhode Island, which is public record, and you put in my name, you're going to have 300, 400 cases, all kinds of cases. And when you evict somebody, that's considered a lawsuit. So when you evict somebody, you're asking for two things: possession of the apartment and back rent. I have never, ever, ever asked for the back rent or collected it after the fact. In other words, I get the judgment. I could go give it to a bill collecting attorney. I've never done that. I'm happy to get the apartment back and start renting it and move forward. Obviously, those people that couldn't pay the rent had a reason why they couldn't pay the rent. So I don't want to get into it with them and chase it. What good is it going to do? Chase, get blood, blood out of the stone or whatever it is. The $12,000 one is completely different. That money was stolen. It was supposed to come to me, and he took the money and left with it. But a tenant that is struggling, who cannot pay their rent, when I evict them, what do I do? Beat them up too? It doesn't make sense. As long as I get the apartment back, I'm back. So that statement that person made was absolutely inaccurate. Have I received judgments for back rent? Absolutely. Have I ever collected a dime? Not one penny. And what did I say? I have 500 tenants, not one penny. Now, we are starting to do it a little bit more now because when it gets up higher, why are we going to let them get off the hook? And we have to teach them, that you can't do that. But I haven't yet. I have not yet. So that was an inaccurate statement that person made. So that's the story with that. Oh, I appreciate being your favorite generic username. I really do appreciate it, and I appreciate you saying that I'm handsome as well. You might want to get some glasses. But anyway, no, I appreciate it. So, yeah, someone has a crush on me. That's all right. I like that. Listen, if that person's local enough, they can come to our meet and greet, So something else my wife gave me for Christmas, which is really kind of funny. She gave me this little thing here. So if I tell a bad joke, say I tell you guys a bad joke, right? Crickets, right? So that's kind of funny, you know what I'm saying? So she gave me this little thing, or, if I say something you really like, see, applause. So even though she hates TikTok, she keeps giving me these tools for TikTok. And she's the one who gave me the mug. My job is really interfering with my TikTok. So actually, can you see? Actually, my TikTok career, there it is. My job's interfering with my TikTok career. Anyway. People said that I'm a younger and thinner Hank from Breaking Bad. Poor Hank, though. I hope I don't end up like he did on Breaking Bad. I loved Breaking Bad. I got to tell you something. So I never watched it when it was on until the very, very, very last season when it won all the awards. It won all the, the Emmy Awards and stuff. And I was like, I got to watch this show. So the Emmys ended like 11 o'clock at night. I went on. I watched the very first episode. No word of a lie. In 7 days, I watched all 6 seasons. I loved it. And then when it went off, I was bummed out. And of course, now you have Better Call Saul, which is on every 3 years. They torture you over that one. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. How much do they charge to manage your property? So, well, I manage my own properties, but that's a very good question. So we manage all our own properties. I have all my own full-time property managers, but outside agencies will charge you anywhere between 6 and 10% to manage a property for you, depending on what services you have them offer. But you look at 6 to 10%. What they'll do is they'll take 6 to 10% off the whatever the rent is. So if you're collecting 5,000 a month in rent, they'll charge 500 if it's 10%. But you know what? If you've made a good investment and you're making some money, it's well worth it. It's just that think about it. You own a business, you don't have to do anything. You just get a check every month because they'll mail you. They collect the rent and they mail you the checks. So that's how that works. Oh, that's funny. All right, you're in L.A. All right, that's cool. So yeah, so we're going to be there in a couple of weeks. So I have to figure out where that is. The little town outside of L.A. We've been there a few times. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a live phone call. Let's see if he answers. He's watching football right now, but I'm going to call Brian because Brian wears two hats for me. Brian, Brian, my nephew, but he wears two hats. He runs Butler Waste, does a great job with Butler Waste, but he also, prior to that, he worked for the audiovisual business. He worked for the audiovisual business, so he sells audiovisual every once in a while. Hey Brian, how you doing? Hey, I'm live on TikTok, so somebody's asking me where in Los Angeles, where in California are we going to be? Do you remember that town that the conference is going to be in? I looked on the calendar, but it didn't say it. How unprofessional I am, live on TikTok making phone calls. How unprofessional. You know? So I got some good questions on here too. I'm going to answer in a minute. Rancho Mirage, that's it. Rancho Mirage, that's California. You know, in Indian Wells, we're going to be in Rancho Mirage in Indian Wells, California. I know they're both outside of Los Angeles, and that's where we're going to be. Rancho Mirage in Indian Wells. So generic username on TikTok, I guess, lives in L.A. and wants to meet me. So anyway, so generic username. See that? So anyway, all right. Well, thanks, Brian. All right, bye. All right, so that's where we're going to be in California for the audiovisual business. So anyway, all right, a couple of questions that came up that are very good questions. So my properties are all in an LLC, limited liability corporation. So that's an umbrella corporation. So those properties are protected under that corporation. How do I protect myself if somebody's going to sue me? Well, look, you can't protect yourself from every lawsuit. If people want to try to sue you, they can try to sue you. What I do is I have video cameras on all my properties. I have, lighting at all my properties. I well light my properties. I have very good video surveillance. And have people tried to sue me? Yeah. Has it backfired on them? Yes. That's all I will say because there's a couple of tricks that we do that I would say, yeah, I guess there are tricks that we do to protect ourselves from fake lawsuits and that type of thing. But anyway, so getting back to managing the property, yeah, you can use you can use an outside company to manage your property. So we are going to stop probably offering that in 2022, managing other people's properties for them. Because like one of my best friends is a property owner, but he's a terrible manager. Not because that he's a nice guy. He feels sorry for everybody. So what happens is by the time a lot of landlords let the tenants go because they're cheap. The landlords are cheap and don't want to pay for a lawyer for the eviction. Okay, that's the biggest problem that I see with my friends that are landlords or landlords in general that have smaller businesses, small, like maybe 6 or 8, 10 rentals. They just don't want to. They're hoping that for some reason or some miracle, the tenant will come up with the couple thousand they owe. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen. Never does. I'm sorry. Maybe around tax time when a tenant says, "Oh, I'm getting my tax refund. I'll catch up." That's happened once or twice in all the years, but still, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You got to force the rules. Uh, you have to force the rules. I haven't looked at generic username. I'll have to look at her profile. Now you got me curious. Let's see. So that's the story with that. Yeah, I do have. So I have individual insurance policies for all my LLCs. Plus, I have an umbrella and everything, just for extra protection. That's very very important. So that's what how I protect myself there. You have to have the insurance. You have to be covered. You know, and of course I don't like insurance. I talked about that the last time. I can't stand, but you have to have it. It's a necessary evil. It's part of the business. You have to have insurance. You have to have good insurance. I just bought a piece of property I'm closing on this week that happens to be in a flood zone. So you have to buy flood insurance when it's in a flood zone. The problem with this particular piece of property is it was built, it was built in 1940. It flooded once in 2010. Anybody in New England probably remembers the famous 100-year floods in 2010, where most of Rhode Island flooded, and that's when everything went into a flood zone. So that's what happened. You're moving to LA. Why are you moving to LA? Make money. Why are you moving to LA? Rhode Island's nice. LA's nice too, but Rhode Island's nice, except for the traffic in LA. I went to, the traffic is very, very difficult. All right, that's okay. I like that. I like that. Well, yeah, we'll definitely, we're going to have to make it a point to meet. I do not do standard rent increases like 5% or anything like that. Only commercial tenants I do. Commercial tenants, they get a standard 2.5% increase every year. The residential, absolutely not. It's all based on the expenses that are related to the property: insurance, property taxes, utilities. That is what drives the rent. Even maintenance, because maintenance is an ongoing thing that's part of my business. I don't charge for maintenance increases. All right. Oh, good. Okay, so now I can call you Sarah from now on instead of make money. I mean, instead of generic username. All right. So I can call you Sarah. What process do we use for screening new tenants? Very good question. So I've talked about this before. We do not do any type of financial credit check. We do a check based on work, experience, how long you've been in your job, and of course past rentals where you lived, and we do a background criminal check, court check in Rhode Island, or if you lived outside Rhode Island, we'll do a court check. We do not do credit checks because, in my opinion, based on my experience, my own experience, everybody has bad credit for some reason that has nothing to do with anything, and I don't care about bad credit. I've had bad credit up until 4 years ago. I had bad credit. I just got good credit 4 years ago, and I'm 57. So that just tells you I actually, even now. So I have, my credit's usually 800. That's usually my credit score. But the last month I've bought a few things. So I have a few mortgages. Well, what happened was they affected my credit score. My credit score just dropped down to 600. Now I know in a few weeks it's going to go right back up to 800 again. But it bothers me that because I'm buying property, and by the way, my credit, I have 100% payment history, 100%. So right on, if you go on, you guys use Credit Karma or Experian or one of those, it gives you the credit history. That's what I use. Okay, and I looked on there this morning. I have 100% payment history. I've never, ever, ever missed one payment, not one payment. But my credit goes up and down based on how much I use my available credit. And that aggravates me. So I do not check credit on tenants. I check their work history and where they live. And even on that, if they've had evictions, as long as there's a legitimate explanation and they can explain it, we'll accept that as well. But what happens is, you see somebody with an 812 credit score, that's phenomenal. So by the way, obviously it's above average. That's well above average. And you know what? I was at 812 a few months ago, but like I said, in the last 90 days, I bought like 5 pieces of property, so it affects my credit score. That being said, I know it's going to jump back up again through the month of January, so I'm not worried about it. And what happens now, too, which is unique, because I'm at the level I'm at, when I buy a piece of property, the bank doesn't look necessarily at my credit score. They're looking at the profitability and the cash flow of the property. So the property, as long as it pays for itself, that has a lot to do with it now, too. So the property management company, when you hire a property management company to maintain your property as if you're an owner, like I said, between 6 and 10%, depending on what you have them do. If you have them just collecting rent from you, well, obviously they're doing minimal. All right, 6%. But if you have them taking calls for emergencies and scheduling repairs, then they might take more like 10% because they're doing a lot more work for you. So that's what, we're going to offer everything to the people that we offer to manage properties for. So that's why it varies between 6 and 10%. I have a piece of property that I own that's about 45 minutes from where I live. So it doesn't make sense for me it's a rental property, and actually it's a weekly rental. It's a summer waterfront house, so it changes every week. We rent it by the week, and that one, that doesn't make sense for me to manage as far as renting it and cleaning up every week and this and that. So we're hiring a local company to manage it. If there has to be a repair done, we will have our guys do the repair. I renovated the house. I had my guys renovate the house. But just ongoing repairs, I'll take care of that. But they can collect the rent. They can, on Saturdays, clean it and get it ready for the next group of people to come in. No, I don't check to see how much money they have in their bank account because people's bank account. Look, if somebody ever checked my bank account, they laugh at me because I spend all my money. I put it right back in the property. I mean, that's what I do. Um, the big thing is the background checks, the legal background checks, the criminal background checks. Obviously, we don't want drug dealers in the property. We don't want child molesters in the property. We don't want somebody has a history of domestic violence in the property. So those are the things that we check. You don't have to check with the Attorney General's office. It's right online in Rhode Island. It's right online. It's called the Rhode Island Court Connect. It's right online where you could do the background checks. Yeah, I hate it too. Every time I buy a property, my score drops, but it bounces back up again. Well, and here's a good example. So I'm refinancing a piece of property. They were going to do it this week. Well, I told them, no. You got to wait a few weeks because I want my score to go back up so I get the best interest rate. So there's a good example of how it affected me. I have to wait now until my score goes back up for that reason. Drop my pen on the floor. So that's the story with that. All right, lawn care. So what happened with the lawn care is this: on all of my multi properties, anything 2 or above, we take care of all the lawn maintenance. It's built into the lease. We take care of it. I have a full-time maintenance crew that goes out and cuts the grass, landscapes. That's been a problem for the years. I used to have a private company do it, but they were just a grass cutter. They didn't trim the trees. They didn't beautify the places. So I just hired 2 full-time employees at the end of the summer, bought them all the tools, set them up with a trailer, the truck, everything. So they're going to be our own full-time maintenance people, and when they go there, they can trim the bushes, trim the hedges. So they're going to do a lot more than just cut grass. So we do it ourselves. We keep it in-house now, but I can afford it. Now, couldn't before when I only had 8 or 10 properties. It didn't make sense for me to have a full-time person. I used an outside contractor. He actually retired from the business, so when he retired this summer, I had to make a decision. And I went on TikTok and I took a survey on TikTok. I really did. If you go back into TikTok, because I wasn't sure what to do. And we ended up hiring our own people and setting up, and it worked out well. I'll tell you why it works out well. It's just like having the dumpster business. When I show up to a property and I find that it's a little shabby, I can make a phone call and have them there in an hour. So that makes a big difference. That makes a real difference. You can go to LA with me if you want. I have no problem with that. Make money. It'd be fun. It'd be real fun. You know. So yeah, so funny you should make. Oh shoot, I just bumped my. What did I just do? There. This person said they made a side deal with a tenant for lawn maintenance. So that's very interesting. I bought a piece of property last month in November, 9-unit piece of property. It's gorgeous. The hedges are perfect. The trees are perfect. This property is a showpiece. It really is. I did a TikTok on it. What happened was one of the tenants that lives there maintains that property. Well, I'm not fooling around with that. I'm going to keep that tenant. I'm going to pay him to maintain that property. Why fool around with it? It looks beautiful. The 9 tenants that are there love it. It's a nice piece of property. So why mess around? So as long as he keeps it up the way he did keep it, the way he's been keeping it up for the other owner, then I think it's a great thing. So yeah, I will not make deals with my tenants to do work. It's always been a bad experience, but in this case, it's separate. He's a tenant paying rent, and separate, I'll pay him to do the lawn maintenance. So I keep it separate. Whenever like contractors come to me, oh, can I rent an apartment from you, take it out of my pay? But I don't do that. I will hire somebody to work for me as a employee, and if they want to rent an apartment, they can rent an apartment from Elmwood Realty. It's 2 separate things, and I do keep it. Separate. The lady with the cats on the property. Well, the cats are still there. Of course, it's been the holidays and haven't done much with it. I did come up with a solution that I'm going to see will work. In fact, I'm going to try to get over there tomorrow or Tuesday. That property abuts a wooded area that I believe is city or state property. It's a huge wooded area. And so I'm going to suggest to her nicely that why don't we just move these little houses and huts to that property? Because then obviously I have no control over it, and it's only 10 feet from where it is. So I'm going to see if that works. I don't know if that will work or not. I have to look and see. So that's the story with that. Your tenant loves the house they lived in for 15 years. So that's exactly right. I have tenants. I have one tenant who's 59 years old. He moved into one of my buildings when he was 19. He's been there. I've owned the house for 17 years. He's been there through 3 owners. He loves the building. Now, what's funny is when I bought the building in 2004, he lived in a 1-room studio. In fact, the 3 studios shared the same bathroom. And he had no problem with that for what, 25 years? But when I bought the property, I completely renovated the property, and I actually built. There was so much empty space in this building, I was able to give him a 1 bedroom apartment with its own bathroom. So what I did was, I would renovate as I renovated the apartments. He would move around into the different apartments, and then he ended up with the nice one, the 1 bedroom. All the other apartments in the building had 2 bedrooms. He ended up with a 1 bedroom townhouses, bedrooms upstairs, the way I did it. So it worked out really well. He's been there a long time. But I just bought a property last week, 15 years. The person was in the house 15 years. And there's something to be said about that. So am I going to be the mean landlord that comes in and says, oh, you've been here 15 years, I'm doubling your rent? No, you can't do that. When I bought the property, I knew that was the situation, so I'll work with that tenant. Why am I so special? I'm not special at all. I don't know. No. What is the landlord responsible for? Lawn, pool? All right, so on the single family houses, I will tell you that. In the single family houses, it's in the lease. The tenant is responsible for everything: lawn cutting, maintaining a pool if there is one, repairs the heating system, the everything, because they're using everything 100%. So they're going to maintain it 100%. So it's built into the lease, washer and dryer, everything. They maintain everything. That's their responsibility in a single family home. Same thing with plowing. Now, I will plow it for them if they want us to do it, and I'll just charge them whatever it costs us. So I don't say you're on your own. Same thing with my lawn cutting. If they want to have our guys cut it, absolutely we'll cut it. We'll just charge them, whatever it is, a reasonable amount of money. But for the most part, they're on their own. Commercial tenants are on their own for everything. They have to pay for everything. It's a commercial tenant. Let's see. I could tell you a story about a hoarder I inherited. So I've inherited lots of hoarders, and it's amazing. Sometimes they don't even become, sometimes they become hoarders just because they live there so long. So they just keep, if somebody walked in my basement right now, they'd say I'm a hoarder, because what happens is you just keep acquiring stuff, and you never purge. So people, oh, you're a hoarder. But yeah, but then there are some people that are actual hoarders. I mean, we a lot of the houses I purchased at auctions were actual hoarders. I bought a house in Cranston just before COVID. No word of a lie. It was a Cape house. So I bought the house. We went into the house the day I bought it. There's 2 bedrooms on the first floor, kitchen, bathroom, living room. Okay, so it was a good sized house. We started cleaning out the living room. Started cleaning out, because it was wall to wall stuff. Cleaned it out. Behind a big pile of stuff was a beautiful, beautiful central staircase that went upstairs to 2 more bedrooms and a bathroom. Who knew? 4 bedroom, 2 bath house. I couldn't believe it. Gorgeous hardwood floors, and it was all because of hoarder. So when I bought that house that day, we never knew there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. There were windows, but again, it looked like a cape that's with an unfinished basement, unfinished attic. So it was really bad. Yeah, well, you should take pictures of it. Sometimes it's this is so this is all about money with me. So Kathy 057, I assume you have a job. I'm gonna make a big assumption. You have a job, all right? So then you go to work and you perform whatever service you work at your job, and then you get a paycheck for it, right? Would you say to your boss, don't worry about it, keep the money, I'm just enjoying it? No, well, it's just like with me. This is my business. This is my job. Of course, it's all about the money. I'm glad you realize that. It's about the money. Yeah, that's my job. My wife has a job. She goes to work every day. At the end of the week, she gets a paycheck. It's not all about the money. It's all about the job and getting paid, and that's my job. So, Kathy, let's assume you don't have a job. Okay, well then you have no right commenting, because you have no job. So that's your options, Kathy. Either, well, she's not jealous. She's just ignorant. So either Kathy has a job and realizes that, yes, my job is to rent apartments and to service them because they're customers. My tenants are customers. For instance, is a waitress all about the money? Because the waitress collects money, right, for serving customers. Is it all about the money, Kathy? No, that's their job. They're servicing customers, just like me. I service customers. My tenants are customers. So Kathy, I hope you just learned a little bit more about the fact that, yeah, it is about the money, but here's why. Okay, and if you don't get it, then I'm sorry. I think I give a pretty good explanation, But yeah, I am doing it for the money. Do you think I'm doing it just because? It's not, I don't run a nonprofit company. I don't want anyone. By the way, this is not a nonprofit company. The money I make, I put right back into the business. So it is a profit making business, and yeah, I want to make money with it. But yes, it is all about the money. That's exactly right. And when somebody goes to work and they have a job, it's about making money. No matter what job you have, no matter what job you have, I guarantee you there's nobody on here saying at the end of the week, hey, boss, keep the money. It's not about the money. So that's ridiculous. Anyway, so that's the story with that. It's interesting, make money. I laugh about that. Somebody that went to high school, Joseph. So, it's funny because when I went to high school, of course, I was not I would say I was probably the AV geek in high school. In fact, I wasn't probably. I was the AV geek in the hospital. I was the one who wheeled in the projector and stuff, the projector in the rooms in high school. And of course, you had the jocks, you had all the jocks, and of course the jocks all got all the cute girls and this and that. And of course I would have a crush on a girl in high school, and then you get out of high school, and all of a sudden now, when you get out of high school, you get out of college, where I was the geek, but maybe the jock didn't turn out to be anything. All of a sudden they start seeing me being a little successful. Oh, now all of a sudden they're interested in me. Isn't that funny how that works out? Um, do you expect any trouble from the family members currently living in the four-house compound? Yes, absolutely. That's not going to be pretty, and I'm going to put every single second of it on TikTok and on YouTube, and I'm going to share it with everybody. Absolutely. They've had they've had 2 years, 25 months to work with me. And you know what's funny? I have many places I've purchased where the people still there right to this day. I have somebody I bought longer than that, 3 years ago. They pay me rent. They stay there, minimal rent. They're happy in their house. We maintain it. We fix it. When people are losing their house, chances are they didn't have the money to maintain it. Roof, plumbing, electric, and the house falls apart. If they can't pay their mortgage, they obviously couldn't afford to maintain it. So the first thing I do when I buy the house is I fix anything that's broken. So that's why we offered these people in Johnston to help them, and they don't want the help. They don't want us around. They've made it very difficult for us, and of course I have to be patient, and I am. Of course, it's been 2 years. That shows you how patient I am. It's an investment. I put down $5,000. When it's time to close, I'll close on it, and then I own it. And then you'll see what happens. Anyway. I have a feeling Kathy might be somebody that's not even Kathy. Somebody made up a name. It could be even George. Who knows? I'd let Kathy go, because at this point now she obviously is not here to learn anything about being a landlord or being a tenant. She's not here to learn anything. So why is she here? She can go, or he or whatever can go look at some of the girls showing skin or something. How would I spend 1 million? What asset classes? How do you? Okay, that's a good question. Everyone always says, "Hey, if I won the lottery and I had $1 million, how would I spend it?" And of course, I dream about that, laying in bed. Hey, if I had $1 million in cash, if I won one of my scratch tickets the other day for $1 million. By the way, I got to tell you, we've had a pretty good return on those scratch tickets from Massachusetts. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, in my case, if I had $1 million, I would pay off some of my high interest loans I have. High interest debt. If I'm paying 8%, 7%, I'd pay those off. Credit cards, pay them off to zero, because that's the highest or the biggest waste of money I have right now. So I would pay those off. That's what I would do. Yeah, so cookies, yeah. So you missed the story on the 4 family members. I've done a couple of TikToks on it if you scroll back, but I bought 4 houses on one lot in Johnston, Rhode Island, and it's all family members on there, and they lost the house to eviction, to foreclosure, because they didn't pay the $300 a month mortgage. That is correct. $75 per house mortgage. They did not pay. Their father died at 96 years old. These people are all in their 60s and 70s, and they would not scrape up $75 out of their Social Security, out of whatever income they have. One family that was there, they're fixing cars. They're making $75 fixing cars on the pocket. And so that's the story with that. Anyway, if you won $1 million, you donate it all. Well, you know what? If you're a gazillionaire and you're paying $1 million in taxes every year, that would make sense, because then it's all a tax write-off to donate it all. I gotta say, I don't think I would donate it all if I won $1 million. I'd donate it to myself. You know, the that's the story with that. So let's talk about let's talk about the lottery tickets. So if everyone's been following me, you know that for my Christmas party for my employees, I buy $1,000 worth of lottery tickets at a Massachusetts lottery depot, and we use those here in Rhode Island because Massachusetts has a better return on the scratch tickets than Rhode Island does. And I'm sharing that with everybody and anybody in Rhode Island. If you're buying in Rhode Island, drive 10 minutes and buy in Massachusetts. I don't care if Rhode Island gets mad at me. They're the ones who's screwing everybody. But anyway, so we handed out $1,000 worth of lottery tickets. Now, of course, I gave each one of my employees that day, I think they each got like 30 tickets. Yeah, they each got $21 tickets, and I gave them some $2 tickets. But like one person won $100. Boom, there's 100 back. I spent 1,000, and I scratched a ticket yesterday, and I won 100. So there's 200 out of my 1,000 right there. So I gotta believe, and of course I know other people that they were winning 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, but they also a lot of them took their tickets home, and I still have a few left upstairs. So you know what? Massachusetts does have a good return on their lottery tickets. It's nice to see people win. I know people suggested, oh, Jeff, just take the thousand, divide them among all your employees. Well, there were 40 people there. So, yes, I could have taken the 1,000 and divided them among the 40 people. If they get gifts, they get bonuses separate from this. They want to see or have the chance to win their, good example, $100, whatever it may be. Condos are very expensive for an investment. It's very difficult to have a condo for an investment. Now, I have purchased 2 condos just to renovate and flip, and that worked out. But to have for a rental investment, between the condo fees, the HOA fees, it's not worth it. It is not worth it owning a condo for an investment property. Like I said, I've purchased them to fix them and flip them, and that's worked out very well for me. Well, I appreciate that. You're right. Make money. I do have a West Coast fan, which is cool, and I know I have a couple of fans in Canada, which is really, which is neat too. Do you rent furnished? So the only ones I rent furnished is the one, the weekly seasonal rental one. That one I rent furnished because obviously people are coming in, and it's more like a hotel for them, bed and breakfast, whatever you want to call it. So that one I do rent furnished. But any other apartments, I don't rent furnished. If somebody is down and out and doesn't have furniture and needs money for furniture, we have a warehouse full of furniture because when people move out and they leave good stuff, we'll throw it in the warehouse. We'll say, hey, look, go pick something out. In fact, that just happened. Somebody needed a bed and a bureau. Go to the warehouse and grab it. It helps me clean the warehouse out, and that's the other thing too. This month, next month, January, is usually the toughest months of the year for tenants to pay their rent. Why? Christmas, the holidays, very expensive, depending how generous you are. So we work with the tenants that way. If they're going to be late and they call us, we'll work with them because we know it's tough. It's a tough time of year. But yeah, we have tenants that we rent to. We have a lady we rented to last month that was literally living out of her car, didn't have anything. So, where she was supposed to move in on the 1st, it was like the 25th. It was right after Thanksgiving. We gave her the keys early. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? She had 2 children. So we do work with tenants that way. And you know what? People always say, well, Jeff, what happens if she moves in? She tries, you know what? You got to take a chance once in a while. You have to use your own discretion once in a while as a landlord. You got to common sense. So that's why. So we don't rent furnished, except for, like I said, that one there. Let's see. Did I miss any questions? But yeah, so for the scratch tickets, I got to say we had a good this year. We had a good return on the scratch tickets this year, which was nice. Let's see what else is there. I worked myself for 35 years now. Wage earners have no idea how hard it is. So what happens is that owning it's hard for me to sell myself to the non-believers. Okay, in owning property, it's like any other job. It's a job. You have to service your customers. You have to do the right thing. The bad landlords made the good landlords look bad. There's nothing I can do about that except the only thing I can do is treat my tenants with respect and do what I need to do as a landlord. I do have a couple of tenants I know for a fact that follow me on TikTok, not because they even knew I was on TikTok. Both times with people that came up to me and said, by the way, we follow you on TikTok. Both tenants. So which was kind of cool. So there are so many bad landlords out there, and that's why when I see these tenants on here, oh, it's all about the money, you're a slumlord, this and that. Look, they've had bad experiences. Let's assume, okay, they had a bad experience. Now, I can tell them what I do different, and if they don't want to hear it from me, well, there's nothing else I can do about that. But I do try to educate tenants and landlords. If somebody on here is a tenant and is having a problem with their landlord, and they ask me a question, I will honestly answer it. I'm not going to help their landlord. If their landlord's a bad landlord, not maintaining the property, not fixing things, then that's their problem. You know. So that's the story with that. We have, you know, like I said, it's interesting because this weekend, what comes to my mind, it's the first weekend that I've been not stressed out with property because I have 3 property managers now. They take the phone calls. So here's a good example. I made a deal with Andrew because Andrew, up until the summer, told me I was micromanaging, and he probably was right. So 2 things came out of TikTok. A, it keeps me busy, so I'm not paying attention to that. But I literally took myself off of the email chains from the tenants to the property management company. I have too much going on. I can't look at every single email. But I used to see them all, and I would get freaked out when I saw a tenant would call about this, call about that, or email about this, email. So it's nice because I don't see the emails anymore. Doesn't mean it's not being taken care of. It means it is being taken care of because I will hear about it, especially with my long-term tenants that used to deal with me on a daily basis. If there's a problem, they will contact me. So things are being handled very, very well. That's why I don't mind keeping buying property too, for that reason, because things are being handled well, and that's great. All right. Oh, Jarek, username, you're 28. Okay. So I'm keep learning little things about you. I didn't see that. That snuck by me. 2 hours away from Rancho Mirage. Yeah. So are you closer to Los Angeles? I guess. Because I know you have to fly into Los Angeles to get to Rancho Mirage. Property managers. All right, so a property manager themselves, okay, can make anywhere between, it depends on how many properties they manage, how much responsibility they have. But I would say on the low end, you're talking 50,000, and the higher end, about 100,000, 6 figures. The reason I say that is because the more properties they manage, plus there's bonuses based on keeping the properties rented. It doesn't do me any good when I look on the board and I see 20 empty apartments. That's money that's not coming in. So that's how the property manager are paid, by keeping them rented, keep them occupied. But my property managers do a lot. They do everything soup to nuts. They even will go by and see what the construction guys are doing. They'll give me an update. Hey, here's what's going on. So I do ask a lot of my property managers. And like I said, we're hiring another one now because I've bought so much property. They're getting stretched thin. And again, I don't want to start letting things fall between the cracks. I still want to offer the good service. It's kind of like opening up another register at the grocery store. When you go to the store and the lines are long, you get aggravated. That aggravates me. So what do? You open up another register to service the customers better. So that's what I do with the property manager. I do the same thing with my ice cream shops. If I go by my ice cream shop and there's a big long line outside, I start twitching because that means the customers are waiting a long time. So I open up another line, open up 2 more windows. I want the lines to move quick. Going to the bank, same thing. It aggravates me going to the bank when there's one teller. You want more. So same thing. It's all the same philosophy with all the businesses. It's all the same philosophy with all the business. Good customer service, no matter what it is. So that's the story with that. Let's see. Trying to see if I missed anything here. My questions are not scrolling. Oh, here we go. I did start small. So the very first property I did buy happened by coincidence to be a 10 unit. I was actually buying the ice cream shop. I was negotiating to buy this little ice cream shop in the building. The building wasn't even for sale. So I was buying the ice cream shop. I didn't own any other property except my own house at the time. And the sellers of the ice cream shop happened to own the building. And the husband or the father, they were in their late 60s. He got ill. So then they said to me, we decided we're going to sell the whole building. So I said, well, how much do you want for the whole building? This was back in 1998. Well, we'd like 300,000. I said, okay, fine. And I ended up buying, it was a 10 unit, 5 commercial, 5 residential upstairs. That's the very first property I bought. Since then, I buy 2 units, 3 units, 4 units. I prefer not to buy 2 units because maintaining a 2 unit is the same as maintaining a 3 or a 4 unit. The only difference is once you get up to 4 units, you're dealing with fire alarm systems, fire testing every quarter. So you have a little bit more responsibility, a little more expense, but you also have 4 incomes coming in. So I prefer to buy 4 units and above, unless I get a really good deal on a 2 and a 3 unit. And that's why I do have a number of 2 and 3 units, because I got a really good deal on them. and I bought those recently. But for the most part, it's all four units and above. I bought a 9 unit, as you know, last in November. I closed on a 9 unit. I bought a 6 unit in November in Cranston. I just bought the 6 unit in Warwick in December. I bought another 7 unit the other day, actually, in West Warwick that I'm closing on in a couple weeks. So, and then of course, and I bought a commercial garage the other day that I'm closing on this week, a big giant 2-car commercial garage for Butler Waste, where we can repair our trucks. We've been using. I have a big garage attached to my warehouse at my office, but I can't stand the trucks going in and out of there. So we bought a garage about a mile away, right off the highway, where we're going to move all the Butler Waste over to that garage, so I don't see it. And so I just bought that. And of course, the 29 unit, I mean, the 39 unit that I closed on the other day, we're going to start working on this week. So I have gotten bigger the last couple of years or so as far as the sizes, but it's because it's comfort zone. I'm comfortable with that. So that's the story with that. Let's see. Let's see. Condos are very expensive right now, so the only way I would, if you were going to buy a condo, if you're handy or if you expect to be in the rental business, buy one that needs complete rehab. That's what that's the one that my parents just got. I've been doing TikToks on. It needed a complete rehab, so they got it for the right price, and I'm doing the rehab on it for them. That's the only way you can get a condo right now. The prices are so high on condos. They're so high on everything right now. Single family homes, retail. So right now, single family, two family, three family, and of course condos are really, really high right now. The market's out of control. The larger properties, the 6, the 8s, 10s, they're pretty much stayed the same because you have to be an investor to buy those. So that's why those haven't really changed much. Although some people that own them think it has, and some people are asking ridiculous amounts of money for them. So that's the story with that. Let's see. Anyway, the let's see. You have so what's that? Do you do cost analysis? Do I do cost what? I don't understand that question. I'm sorry. 1 million reserve. What do you buy? Or the combination of purchases. So I do try to buy residential property. I do have commercial property, but it's usually mixed use. So like the 10 unit I was talking about is 5 apartments, 5 storefronts. In Pawtucket, I bought a 15 unit, 13 are apartments, and there's 2 storefronts downstairs. So I don't mind buying a mixed use property here and there. It can actually work in my favor. But I try to buy residential property, and it's interesting because some investors only buy commercial property. I have one of the guys that goes to the auction with me. That's all he buys is commercial property. He's like me. He buys for a portfolio, only commercial property. Now, why? Commercial property can be in the right place in the right circumstances the easiest property to own because you do nothing as an investor. The tenant does everything. They pay the taxes. It's triple net. They pay insurance. They pay the repairs. They pay the maintenance. They just send you a check every month for your rent. I don't particularly, that's not my cup of tea. My cup of tea is residential. I like doing residential. It's worked for me. But again, it's all personal preference. So that's the story with that. Um, I gotta laugh. Kathy's been on here, what, half hour making comments. I'm sure there's a lot better educational stuff out there for a lot more entertainment for her out there. But who knows? So, who knows what her story is? Yeah, the don't. So again, I want to remind everybody, I record all my lives, and I put them on my TikTok. I put them on my YouTube channel after. So if you do come on live late or you leave early and you want to watch them, just go on my YouTube channel and search for it. I put them by the date, and I just put them on there in case you miss anything. But you didn't miss anything with the 4 people, the 4 families in Johnston. That's going to be happening soon, and I cannot wait. And I am going to take pleasure in it. And for obvious reasons. Let's see. Do you recommend to buy a property to live in first and then invest? So I've said this before. I say it was a mistake. Had I done it all over again or start all over again, I wouldn't have bought a single family house for myself. Well, when I bought my house, I was teaching at the time. I didn't think I was going to be investing and doing all this stuff too. So I have to remember that too. But I bought a single family home. It was on a lake. It was a very nice house. But it tied up a lot of money. And because it was so expensive and I was single at the time, what did I do? I had two roommates paying me rent every month, living with me. They were great, lived with me for years. But why didn't I just buy a three-family at the time? If I bought a three-family, they would have their separate apartments. I would have my own apartment and lived a little bit more private lifestyle. You know, if I was on a date, had a girl come over because I had two roommates. My two roommates happened to be girls that rented from me at the time, but which was kind of cool. But yeah, you know, hindsight, I would have just bought a three-family house and started that way, and used and used the money, you know, to reinvest and reinvest. I probably would have been a little bit more ahead of myself at that point. But cookies are your favorite make money. What cookies are your favorite? Now we talk about cookies. Where did cookies come from out of left field? So this week is going to be a huge week as far as renovations go, apartments go, properties go. The conferences for the audiovisual don't start for another couple of weeks, so I don't really need to talk about those. I will talk about those because I'm going to end up traveling to the shows. Oh, chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, I don't need a lot of cookies because of my diabetes. So even Christmas cookies, there's trays and trays and trays of cookies. All right, I do like the little sugar ones with the nuts in them, but that's it. You know, I don't eat any other cookies. All right, Girl Scout cookies. All right, you got me on the Girl Scout cookies. I like the little peanut butter Girl Scout cookies. But anyway, so this week's going to be a major week as far as renovations. I'm going to have a lot, show you folks a lot. The condo, the two showers are all tiled, done, ready to go. We're ready to do hardwood floors in the condo. So all right, cool. See, so just close on a single family. What we should buy next? I mean, again, in your area, if you can buy, you know, a 3-unit, 4-unit, 5-unit. I mean, if you feel comfortable, looks like you have some experience now. Why not? You know, the way I look at it is when you have multiple units in one building, you're sending your maintenance guy over there. So if there's two issues, he deals with two issues at the same time. You're not driving back and forth. That's why I guess the natural progression for an investor such as myself, the natural progression is to start off small with 2s and 3s and 4s, then 8s, then 10s, and then maybe, like I said, I bought the 39, and you buy bigger ones and you sell off the smaller ones. Because I guess the progression is it's easier to maintain a larger complex than it is a smaller, you know, property. The only good news with me, and I'm realizing it now, whenever I buy a property, we go through it. It needs a lot of work when we first get it, 4-unit, 5-unit. But once we go through it, it kind of is on its own now. It's really nice. So the maintenance guys are not going back and forth to the same property over again. So that's one nice thing about buying property and renovating them. They're nice at that point, so I don't have to babysit the property. So that is a really good thing too. But you know, again, the landlords have to realize it's not about just buying the property. It's about how much you can invest in it after to get it up to, you know. Oh, the cup says, I'll move it. Now, my wife got that for my staff because my staff knows whenever I pop in the office, it's probably just to make a TikTok or something because I'm really not in the office that much anymore. December was a busy month, so I happened to be in the office. We had our Christmas party. There was stuff going on. But trust me, they don't want me in the office. If you see the staff, they don't want me in the office. They really want me to. Or how many units do you have? Are they all financed? So they're not all financed, but that's a good question. So obviously, when I buy property, yeah, it's just like anything else. I get a mortgage. So yeah, you know, a lot of them are financed. But what happens is, so I have a way of buying my properties where I like to buy them where I make cash offers to the seller to try to get it for the best price. Then what I do, and I use private investors for that. Then what I do is I immediately turn around and I refinance it through a bank, and that's what I do there. When I refinance it, obviously there's a small mortgage on the property. But now what's happening is a lot of properties are getting paid off as we go. So yeah, they're not all financed. The 39 unit I bought the other day, that's financed, obviously, because nobody has $3 million lying around. So the bank loaned me. I can't believe it. I had terrible credit 4 years ago, and today, you know, so they let me borrow the money. So, hey, Val Pub 44. Yes, thank you. I did have a happy holiday. Hope you did too. You know, I talked about this the other day. The holidays are very difficult for me because throughout the years, Jeff never had job security. So my audiovisual business in December and January always took a dip. So I was always nervous around the holidays. Am I going to have enough money to survive the holidays? So the holidays, and this is up until 10 years ago, Obviously, it's a little bit better now, but I still am very anxious around the holidays. I admit it, very stressful. I actually start getting to the holiday spirit, the Christmas spirit, right at the Christmas party for my employees because I know when I leave that Christmas party, the office is closed, they're going home. I have nothing to worry about. Everything's paid for. But in fact, my wife said to me today, you really didn't get into the Christmas spirit this year. Well, I was fine. I thought it was great. I didn't have any problem. I enjoyed Christmas this year. But again, it goes back to just years and years and years of struggling, worried about whether I was going to have the money for Christmas because, you want to be able to give people and give to people and stuff. My advice on tax planning is don't listen to any advice I have on tax planning because I'm terrible about it. I actually have a great CPA who started doing my taxes 3 years ago, who probably should have started doing my taxes 10 years ago. And I defer to him. I'll call him. His name's John. John, you going to help me out? What do I do here? What do I do? I just bought this. How do I depreciate that? The problem is when you're self-employed, I've talked about this, you do everything. You're the floor cleaner, you're the maintenance guy, you're the, bill payer, you're the bill collector, you're everything when you're self-employed. So you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none when you're self-employed. So because of that, one area that I should have paid more attention to is taxes. But I did I got audited in 2018, and that's when I hired, 2017, that's when I hired the CPA who's done a great job. He's helped me out with the audit. It was fantastic. But again, it's because I was not organized. Because again, I'm busy running my business. I'm not busy working for the government trying to pay them taxes. So that's where it's very important to really have somebody knowledgeable. Surround yourself with smart, knowledgeable people. And I do that around my business. I do. Mike, he's owned 2 businesses himself, and now he's going to be running a new business for me. He's been with me for 12 years, 13 years. He's knowledgeable. Andrew manages the D'Angelo's for 15 years. Tim was a district manager of a restaurant chain for 15 years. So I surround myself with good, knowledgeable people. And I have to do that in other areas too. So so my accountant's great. I love him. He's really helped me out. My lawyer's been my lawyer since 1997. I never needed a lawyer before 1997 because I didn't really have my own business. I was teaching, started my business in 1995. I met my lawyer Steve actually through a mutual acquaintance when I was opening up my nightclub. He became my lawyer in 1997. He is still my lawyer today, and he is fantastic. He tells me when I'm being a jerk. He tells me when I'm being right. And if I'm being mistreated by somebody, he will fight like a bull for me, and that's what I like. And he's an honest, ethical lawyer. He's not one of these, sneaky guys. He's very, very moral, high moral standards, and that's why I like him because he will tell me, "Hey, Jeff, don't do this, don't do that," or I'll ask him, can I write off my TikTok video? Maybe if it was costing me money, but because it's not costing me anything, it's free. I really can't write it off, So yeah, it's interesting. When I started doing TikTok, I never even thought that it was going to be a commercial for my business. But this summer it was. My ice cream shops, people were coming in. Oh, is this the one that's on TikTok? Is this the one that's on TikTok? So, I was pretty happy about that because I did not do it with that intent. It's a local business. So people in Canada, people in California that see me on TikTok, they're not going to come support my business. Maybe a meeting planner in California or Texas or Florida might see my audiovisual business and contact us because we travel over the country. And that's pretty much how we got the business is meeting planners from all over the country. But same with Butler Waste. Butler Waste is just in Rhode Island. So anybody, but again, we did have people call us up, hey, I saw you on TikTok. I could write off my microphone. Well, so what's funny is I bought the microphone for the audiovisual business, so that is technically a write-off because it's a piece of equipment that we use for the audiovisual business. The mug was a gift. It was a Christmas gift, so I can't write that off. But the Christmas party I can write off. So, that's why I don't understand why businesses don't do more for their employees at Christmas time. So that Christmas party I had the other day, that was a whole tax write-off. Every bit, 100%. I give it to my accountant. There you go. So, why wouldn't a business owner do more stuff for their employees? I don't understand that. My YouTube channel is Jeff Never Had Job Security. Same as my TikTok. I'm not very creative. So my YouTube channel is Jeff Never Had Job Security, YouTube. The furthest I would buy a property. Well, I've been looking down. We've been looking in Florida, in southern Florida, on the West Coast, recently. New Hampshire. I'm looking to buy something in New Hampshire, a multi-unit in New Hampshire. Do I save every single receipt? Yes. So I'm very bad at saving receipts, but my staff is excellent at saving receipts. But I do. I save every receipt. I turn them into Heather, my bookkeeper. And at the same time, we use credit cards for everything. So if we do lose a receipt, it's all in the credit cards. I use credit cards for everything. I do not use any cash at all because, again, if I lose a receipt, I use the credit cards for a lot of reasons. I get my points. I love credit card points. I love my Southwest points. I love my Hilton points. So yeah. So yeah, if you get audited, here's the story with that. If you get the IRS is very, very reasonable. When I got audited, if I had 30% of my receipts, that would have been a problem. If you have 90% of your receipts, they give you the benefit of the doubt of the other 10% receipts. So you're not going to screw them out of 10%. So that's what I found. We had most of our receipts. We will produce the receipts. Plus, if they said, hey, can you get them? And I go and I get on if I had the credit card statements to show I bought it, that was good enough. They're very reasonable. It's the ones that only have 10% of the receipts for 100%, of the expenses. That's a problem. Yeah, it's funny because I've never been to Rancho, so when I go to Rancho, I'm looking forward to it. I heard it's nice. We've done many conferences there, but again, for the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't traveled to a lot of conferences because I've been running my real estate. Now that that's one of the other things that's really nice too. Now that the real estate is being run by the managers, I've been in Butler Oasis being run. I'm actually freed up now. I can't say I'm bored because I know people are like, oh, spend time with your family. What's nice is I'm so freed up now that I'm looking to, hey, let me go on that show. Let me go on this show. Let me go visit. That's why I went to Miami. That's why I went to Washington a couple weeks ago. So that's why it's kind of nice that I'm traveling again, not because I have to, but because I want to. I want to go see the Chase. What's your favorite banks for loans? Well, no, that's an interesting question because I just had an unbelievable, fantastic, great experience from a local bank in Rhode Island, Bank RI. I've been with TD Bank the last 10 years. TD Bank has treated me better than other banks. Like we have Citizens Bank. They never treated me well. Bank of America never treated me well. In fact, Bank of America, I will never do business with them. I don't care how rich I am. I will never do business with that bank ever again. That's only because in 2008, when we had the banking crisis, they tried to foreclose on one of my properties. It would not work with me, and I had to sue them after 5 years. I won the lawsuit in that case. They had to pay back all the money that they screwed me out of. But I will not do business with Bank of America ever, 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 ever. I'm sorry, I will not. TD Bank is good. Yeah, I like TD Bank. TD Bank's been very good to me. I used to like the little. In fact, I was in there today. They still have it covered up. The little change machine. They used to bring in your quarters there, and they got rid of it when they got sued by somebody for making a mistake. But I do like TD Bank. They've been very good to me, and I'm still with TD Bank. But I'm with Bank RI right now too because they just did that big loan for me, and they made it so easy. And they worked with me. They trusted me. So you know what? So TD Bank is national. I know TD Bank so TD stands for Toronto Dominion. So they're out of Canada. I know they're on the East Coast. I mean, they're in Rhode Island. They're in Washington D.C. big because I was in Washington. Had to go to the bank a couple months. So yeah. So I do like I do like TD Bank and I like. But I also have accounts at Chase. So I have a good. So here's what's interesting about Chase. Chase was never in Rhode Island, and I opened up a couple online accounts a couple of years ago, checking and savings, and that's because I have Chase credit card, so it was easier for me to make the payments, right, transfer it. So I've been with Chase for probably 8 or 9 years, and I have the Chase credit cards, which I absolutely love. Then all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's it, Penny. Yeah, that's it, Penny the coin counter. You're right. Who's that? You're right. Cookies. Yeah, it was Penny. And they got rid of Penny. I loved Penny. Penny was great because again, we have all this change from the washing machines and the dryers. So we would go to Penny and dump them in there and just go right into my account. So when they got rid of the Penny, that kind of stunk. Now what I do is I use the Coinstar, but I do not pay the fee. I get the gift cards for Amazon or for Lowe's, Home Depot. I will not pay the fee. So Chase banks are popping up everywhere. So that's what I tell you. So what's interesting about Chase is all of a sudden there's 6 Chase banks in Rhode Island. In the last year, they just opened up everywhere in Rhode Island. So I had accounts with them before that. So I actually went into Chase Bank for the first time last week. But what's interesting about Chase Bank is when Chase Bank opened in Rhode Island, Guess what trash company they hired? Butler Waste. We didn't go to them; they came to us. So that was kind of cool. So Chase Bank is one of my customers in Rhode Island. We take care of all their trash. So, but I do like Chase Bank. So Chase Bank is one that I could see me doing business with. Your favorite books that educate you? You probably don't want to hear this one, but so I'm gonna skip over the art of the deal. But anyway, it's interesting because my favorite books are books on reality. Somebody who did well. My biggest concern, believe it or not, was talking to people, negotiating, like going to the bank and saying, "Hey, will you loan me money?" Or "I have a problem, I can't pay you this month." That was a challenge for me, especially in 2008. So, those are the banks I look for: motivational books that will, say, "Look, just get up the guts and the gusto and talk to the person. What are they going to do? They're not going to kill you. They're not going to bite your head off. So just talk to them. What do they say? Worst case, they'll say no, and you go on to somebody else." So I did learn that in 2008, 2009. And so Butler Waste is obviously us as Butler Waste. So TD Bank, that's part of the problem I have with TD Bank. TD Bank, they did do 3 mortgages for me back in 2016, but it was very, very difficult. The mountain of paperwork that I had to come up with, it was ridiculous. And even since then, I applied for a line of credit a couple of years ago, and they turned me down. It was a $100,000 line of credit against all my property, and they said no. So that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth with TD Bank. I realized they're just kind of big, and they didn't look at the situation. They don't look, the small banks and the credit unions. To answer that person's question, you want to go to the small banks and you want to go to the credit unions and establish a relationship. That is the most important thing, especially being self-employed, that you can do. When you're self-employed, they look at specifically your credit score and the numbers. They don't look at you as a person, what you're doing, the business you're running, how long you've been in business. My audiovisual business has been in business since 1995. I mean, that's a long time that I've been in business. Sustained the business in 1995, and so small banks will look at that. Small credit unions will look at that, or local banks and credit unions will look at that. So that's the issue with that. So it's funny. I don't own any property in New Jersey, but a friend of mine does, and he tells me that the property taxes in New Jersey are pretty good. We compare all the time, and he tells me the property tax compared to Rhode Island is actually pretty good. Rhode Island's interesting with property taxes. Every city's different. I mean, every city in Rhode Island, the property taxes are different. Warwick, East Greenwich, Cranston, West Warwick, Smithfield, I own property in all those towns. Johnston, Narragansett, Pawtucket, North Providence, East Providence. These are all cities and towns that I own property in, and the tax rates are different in every town. The property tax is different in every town, and it's a little frustrating. West Warwick seems to have high property tax. But that being said, people like living in West Warwick. It's a desirable place for people to live. So I buy rental property there, residential property. I wouldn't buy commercial property in West Warwick. There's just a lot of reasons, but it's residential. It's definitely a blue collar residential town, and that's why I like buying residential property there. Let's see. Johnston's taxes are very good now. I just bought I'm closing on it a couple of weeks ago. I bought 8.5 acres in Johnston, where I'm actually moving the Butler Waste business to. Even though I'm moving the repair garage to the 2-car garage I bought the day, the actual business, Butler Waste, all the trucks, the dumpsters, everything, I'm moving to Johnston, these 8 acres in Johnston. Johnston was very welcoming. Johnston, I will say all positive things about that city. First of all, I've been buying and flipping houses in Johnston for 10 years, and I didn't know much about the town until I started buying houses. It's well managed. The mayor is pro-business in Johnston, pro-business, and that's why I guess I like it so much. He just wants that. He wants that town to thrive and prosper, and it has been. Johnston has such a good reputation now. It has a great reputation. In fact, my audiovisual business did the graduation for Johnston High School during COVID. They did a virtual drive-in graduation. So what they did is they had a huge parking lot in Johnston. Giant parking lot. We set up 2 big giant outdoor movie screens and had the graduation up on the movie screens. And what we did is we put it live on Facebook. We put it live on Facebook. So and also it was live there. So we had a radio station they could listen to in the car, so they could pull up, stay in their car, the graduates, watch the speeches, and we had it up on screen. So that was Johnston. We did that in a lot of the cities, but Johnston, that was a new customer for us, so I was happy about that. And I do like Johnston. I'm happy to be moving my Butler Waste business to Johnston. The property is so big, I could move other businesses there as well. I could move other businesses to Johnston as well. Amazon is opening up a huge facility in Johnston, gigantic, in Johnston, and of course Citizens Bank just opened up a big facility there, a big office complex there. So Johnston is pro business. And the landfills in Johnston, the Rhode Island landfills in Johnston, that's where we get rid of all our trash. So of course they don't make any money from that. The Rhode Island landfill, the state agency, makes the money from that. But we give you an example. So the landfill, we have a deal there. To get our price, we have to at least deliver 300 tons a year of trash to them. 300 tons to get the price at $105 a ton. And in 6 months we did like 500 tons, just to give you an example how much trash. And we're one little company. Think about all the different companies going to the landfill. It's amazing. That's why I sit back and say, what did I get myself into? I never knew that. When I was 40 years old, I think I'm going to own a trash company. No. So it's all stuff I'm learning. All stuff I'm learning. I'm saying to reach out to small local banks for loans. Yes, reach out to the credit unions and the banks. That's where you want to get your loans from. Build a relationship with them. You know what? And you know what aggravates me too? Once you get big, then that's when all of a sudden the big banks come to you. Oh, now I'm good enough. See, I won't do that. That's where I get a little stubborn. If a big bank comes to me now or later on, not that I'm big, but I think I'm big enough where a big bank would be interested in me, I won't go there. The new bank that I'm with, the loan is so much money. The amount of money I'm spending with them is so much money. They're giving me no free checking, no free savings. No fee savings, no free checkings. They're really working with me and they're appreciating me, and that goes a long way. So I am loyal. I would never leave them and skip town. TD Bank, I tried to build a relationship with them. It got to a certain point, but again, same thing with them. I just couldn't get to the next level. Maybe because I wasn't big enough. I don't know. Oh yeah, no, I know that. I know. I'm gonna have to reach out to the number one fan, Sarah. I'm gonna have to reach out to the number one fan, in California. That's pretty good. So, anyway, so that's pretty much it. I am gonna be talking this week. I said a lot about a lot of renovations, how much things cost. I don't mind sharing how much things cost. When I buy something, I don't mind sharing how much I paid for it because it's public record anyway. It's going to be published in the newspaper and online anyway when I pay for something. It's going to be, oh, look at him. The only thing I have to remind people is when I buy something, yeah, I have a loan. So it's not like I took, $3 million in cash out of my pocket. Basically what I did there was I actually leveraged a couple other pieces of property to get me my down payment. So really that's how I did that. Would you rather have commercial and make less money or residential? That's an interesting question. Commercial property. Here's the problem with that. I have a friend of mine who owns an office building. Right now, he's pulling his hair out because nobody's renting office space right now. Everyone's working from home and this and that. Where I have residential property, everyone's working from home and they want to pay their rent and live at home. I've always liked my residential property. It is a little bit more work because you offer more services being a residential owner and landlord, but I like it. To me, it's more of a guaranteed thing. Again, especially what happened after 2008 and the banking crisis, a lot of businesses went out of business. I still had tenants that needed apartments. So I personally like residential mixed in a couple of, out of my 300 units, I probably have 22, 23 that are commercial. Everything else is residential. But I do like the residential tenants. I like having the residential, and we're equipped to handle it. Though people that have commercial land leases and commercial properties, yeah, it is easier. They put up the money. If they have it leased and they have it rented, they're just waiting for the money, the register to ring. So yeah, that's a good thing too. But for me, I like the ongoing, the residential. Let's see, what else do we have? Yeah, Amazon. We already talked about that. So anyway, so that's the story with that. Which question? Make money, don't judge. What question? Which one? Which question did I make money? Which question did I dodge? I thought I answered it. Let's see. I try not to dodge the questions unless it's personal and it's going to embarrass me. But other than that, I don't dodge a question. You know what I'm saying?
I'm waiting for the question, make money, to see what the question was. I already answered that. I said I would take. I listen. Any TikTok fans, I'll take out to dinner if I mean. I appreciate the fact, the followers I have, and I don't know if I got any. It's funny when I go live, I don't get any followers. It's usually the people that have been following me anyway. But I appreciate every follower that's picked the follow button because I've never asked for it. So for people to pick the follow button, they find something I said interesting, or either I'm the weekly joke and they want to see me. I don't know. Anyway, what margin do you like on a fixed up property? That's a really good question. So the margin for me on a fixed up property, you're talking about profit margin, yearly profit margin, 10%. I think a 10% return on your money obviously is good. Now, the reason I use that number is put it in the bank, you're only going to get 1%. You do private lending, you're at 12%, but that's a little risky. 10% is a really good guaranteed return on an investment. So I think that after all my expenses, I think that's a really good return on investment. There are other people that have all kinds of formulas. They figure out all the formulas. Look, my formula is: do I make enough money to survive? Make enough money to support my family? Make enough money to buy Christmas? That's all. And go out to dinner. That's really that's really what the question. That's really what the issue is. So that's the issue with that. You want to make a return on your investment. Let's see. All right. I don't know. I see questions are popping up, and I don't know how you see those questions. It says you have a message, so I guess I have to go somewhere and look for my message. Maybe somebody can help me on that. See, this is where net profit. Net profit 10%. I mean, any less than that, because look at how you can invest your money. When I buy a piece of property, that's what I do. So say the other day is a good example. I bought a piece of property. I ended up paying $415,000 for a 7-unit piece of property. So what I'm looking at is I look at, okay, how much is coming in for rent? What are my expenses? What am I going to make at the end of the day? As long as I'm going to make 10% return on my investment, then to me it's a good investment. If it's less than that, well, can I invest it in the stock market? Can I put it somewhere else? Now, I'm not really into the stock market. Only a few stocks, nothing crazy, nothing near what most people have. Now, let's talk about Chase Bank for a minute. I'm jumping around the stock market. So I decided when Chase Bank was not in this market that I would open up accounts at Chase Bank like 8 years ago. I purposely opened up the accounts there because I knew that I couldn't run to the bank and take the money out. So I opened up a savings account. So I have a savings account at Chase Bank, and every month I put $100 a month in there. Not a lot of money, $100 a month. And they have a thing called a automated investment account. So what they do is this: you make a $100 investment every month. They'll invest it for you. Chase actually invests the money for you. The more you have in there, the more they invest. They buy stocks with it. And so I never touch it. Just put the money in there, put the money in there, put the money in there. And $100 a month. So anyway, make a long story short, it's up to $13,000. Actually, it was up to $15,000. But $1,000 of it was profit. $1,000 of it was the interest that I was making on the. So I was like, oh, that's pretty good. So I needed some of it because I needed some money to buy one of these pieces of property I just bought. So sometimes I run my cash flow. So I went. The bank's down the street now, so it's convenient to go to the bank and take out the money. But when the bank wasn't conveniently down the street, the money would have stayed there. So I got to put it back. I promised myself I would put it back in a few weeks. So that's the story with that. Generic username, is $100 a month too low for cash flow? For profit on a property, yeah, I think so. So what I try to do is this: when I buy a property, for me, I try to, putting the 10% aside, I try to have the property at least make $800 a month profit, figuring that if there's a major repair or something, or an apartment's empty, or at least I have a month to cover it. So I always think that way anyway. That I want to have at least make $800 a month when I buy a piece, because then it's not worth it. If it's only $300 a month and you have a tenant move out, now you have an empty apartment, you've lost money. So my math is no less than $800 a month. Has to on a 3-unit or 4-unit. Everybody has to look at their own financial, process or your situation. But for me, like right now, no, I think $500 is not too low, but for the fact that you have. If the property's in perfect condition, you buy it. $500 might be a great number because you don't have to put any money into it. So $500 is great. The goal here is this, and this is what non-landlords have to understand. Landlords are not getting rich on owning a 1 unit or 2 units or 3 units. Not getting rich on 20 units, 30 units.
Because there's a good example. You buy a two-family house, I might be lucky if I make $400 or $500 on it. Now, if I have 10 of those, now you're making 4 or 5,000 a month, okay. But on the guy starting out, or the woman starting out, anybody, the investor starting out, you're not getting rich on your first few. You're getting your feet wet. You're getting used to the business. You're learning the business, and you have surprises, expenses that come in. But I got to tell you something. As long as you're making a profit a month, the cash register ringing, right? So you'll never go broke ringing the cash register. But that's how I give myself a raise. When I say to myself, I want to give myself a raise, I look for a piece of property that I know will have a little bit of positive cash flow every month, and that's how I give myself a raise, and that's it. There's no real formula there except that I want to give myself a raise. All my employees get raises. My wife works; she gets raises. Everybody else gets raises. So it's nice for me to get a raise, and the only way I'm going to get a raise is by buying another piece of property. Yeah, I would say generic username.
Sarah, start with
If you can do a duplex, it's nice because you're safe. If one tenant moves out, you still have the other income. So I would say if you're going to start with anything, at least a duplex. 3-family would be the best, but a duplex is a great start. Because if you have a duplex and it's rented all the time and it's making money, that money can go into the bank and that could be your down payment on your next one. So that's why the single families are difficult, because if you have a mortgage of $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, that tenant moves out. Now you have zero. Now you're covering it. So that's why I really do think you have to start with a second.
So what happens to my debts and my mortgage if I pass away? So typically what happens is if I pass away, well,
I have some insurance on some, but if I pass away, then the mortgages can continue with my wife. Obviously, my wife would continue paying the mortgages because they're commercial mortgages, so she would continue paying them. But again, my kids are going to inherit anything anyway, later on. But here's an interesting one. I did buy a piece of property, very nice piece of property. I did a TikTok on it. It's a 6-unit apartment house, and there's a restaurant on the same piece of property. It's a sad story. So what happened was I bought it at a foreclosure auction, and I bought it from the bank at foreclosure. The guy who bought it was never married, didn't have any kids, no family. He bought the property, owned it for 6 months, and he died of cancer. And the property went back to the bank. They foreclosed on it, went back to the bank. So they maintained the property. The bank took care of the property. They had it, the lawn cut, cleaned. They upgraded the fire alarm system, and then they put it up for auction. And I bought the property from the bank. The bank actually had that particular property. I bought it from them. That's the one that the restaurant came with a food truck. So I paid $250 for the property with the restaurant and the food truck. But the restaurant was out of business at the time. I got the food truck, and I sold the food truck for $22,000. So I got a little quick return on my investment there. That was about 4 years ago. That was kind of cool when that happened. So that's what happens to that. So when you pass away, depending on how you're structured, in January actually, I finally am going to an estate planner with my wife. We're setting up an estate and setting everything all up to make sure everything's all organized and protected and everything else. Because what happened with me is, like I said earlier in the conversation, if you're still with me during my long-winded conversation, as a self-employed property owner, you're everything. You're the maintenance person, the painter, the cleaner, the garbage man, the accountant, the bill collector, the bill taker, bill payer. So I've always been a little unorganized in as far as it goes, because I'm more focused on buying more property, and growing the business. Now, on the other end of being, okay, what is my financial situation? Where do I stand? That's why I had to get an accountant, because I got audited because I wasn't paying attention. So what happens is that now I'm organized. I realize what I have, because I never even realized what I had. Plus, doing this big loan, I had to list everything I had. Now I realize, okay, it's time for me to go to an estate planner and get everything organized. And even my wife, I mean, the last few years, she'd come home from work. I'm like, hey, how was your day, honey? She's like, oh, my day was fine. How was your day? And I'm like, well, I bought a house at the auction. And she's like, oh, you just say it so casually. Well, it was just like that. I would go to the auction with a $5,000 check. If the house was a good price, I'd buy it, put down the $5,000, and then I would work on getting the financing to pay for the house when the bank came through and the lawyers came through to close on it. So I never paid attention. All of a sudden, next thing you know, I had like 25 houses that I had bought at auctions that we were renovating and flipping.
So that's the story with that. So let's see. Any other questions? I think I answered everything.
Yeah, I don't think I'll run for president. You know what the problem with president is? It's such a thankless job. You know that if you're the president, 50% of the country is going to hate you. That's what stinks. And you think, all right, 50%. Right now, I got 40% of TikTok that hates me. Now I'm going to have 50% of the country hate me.
So, hey, Ohio, how you doing? Hey, Orange Mass, how you doing? Now, Orange Mass, is that
in the mountains there? What do they call that? There, the trail there. What's that trail? Orange Mass.
It goes. You go along the Mass Pike all the way to North Adams. Is that am I talking about the right place? Orange Mass. Is that where Orange Mass is?
Why can't I think of the darn? It will come to me anyway. Not the Mohawk Trail or whatever it is. Yeah, the Mohawk Trail. I was right. See that? The Mohawk Trail. Yeah. I remember driving down, so instead of taking the Mass Pike once in a while, when I go to North Adams, I have a friend who lives in North Adams, I take that. We go up towards the Route 91 and we cut over and take the Mohawk Trail. And it's really, really a beautiful, beautiful mountainy ride, and it's cool, All right, Gardner. Yeah, see, all right. I knew 2A. Yeah, see, I remember. And we love it. We love that ride. In fact, we were coming back from New York this summer, and I was like taking the scenic routes. We were coming back from New York, and we wanted to go down some alpine slides. And I remember we were in Schenectady, New York, and I Googled it, and I forget which mountain we went to. It was a ski resort, but they had the alpine slides, and they had the coaster, the mountain coaster, and it was up there too, off of 2A. We went up there, and that was really cool. That was fun. We had a good time. So yeah, that's beautiful out there, Western Massachusetts. That's really, really nice. Really, really nice. Great Barrington, all that. So, like I said, my friends in North Adams. Mount Wachusett. No, it wasn't Wachusett. No, Wachusett is. So, I learned how to ski at Yago Valley in Rhode Island because I was a coach for Special Olympics for the athletes. So, I learned how to ski there. But my very first big mountain I went to was Wachusett. Loved it. It was great. Went there a few times. So, scroll up and answer your question. What was your question, Sarah? Ask it again. I must have missed it. Shoot. I feel guilty when I miss a question. Let's see. I'm in LA looking to invest in Indiana. Any advice for me? So, the only thing I would say is I'm not familiar with Indiana. Get familiar with where you're going to invest in, the town, the city. I'm not. So this question here about the 25%, I'll answer that in 1 second. That's a very good question. They're all good questions. That's a really good question because that actually came up the other day. So whenever you're investing in a place, and I've talked about this before, let's talk about, there's two different ways of investing. Your single family, your own personal home, and of course an investment property. An investment property, to me, you want to see what kind of neighborhood it's in. Is it near a big city? Is there enough people to rent from you? Is it going to be rural? So I don't know where in Indiana you want to be in, but look at the area. If you know the area, then obviously you get familiar with the area. Look at how much the median rents are, that's easy enough to go on the MLS there and see what properties are selling for and renting for. Craigslist is a good place just if you want to check rents, what people are getting for rent. But check it out. But it might be a great place. Indiana might be a great place to invest in. But again, I like to be in areas that I'm comfortable in. I know the area. And if I don't know the area, and for instance, here's a good example. I would love to own a place, two places. One, my parents live in Naples, in Bonita Springs, Florida. So I like something in either Bonita Springs or Naples. But I want to buy a multi, 3 units or 4 units. That way I can leave 1 unit for me to go visit, and the other 3 I can rent. So in that case there, I'm pretty much familiar with the area, but I would use a local real estate agent to help me figure out, okay, what are the rents there and how much am I going to have to pay for the property. Same thing in New Hampshire, where I'm looking for something up in New Hampshire. I made a big mistake a couple of years ago. I still kick myself. I lose sleep over it. I had an opportunity to buy a compound, 4 houses on one lake up in New Hampshire, and I didn't do it. I should have. I was still being a little conservative, and I should never have done it. I should have bought it. Anyway, same thing though. It was 4 houses. I could have rented out 3, kept 1 for myself. But again, that's lakefront. It was and it was near the mountain, so it's kind of cool. In the summer, it was on the lake for boating, fishing, water skiing, etc. In the winter, the mountains are there for skiing. So that was a no-brainer. But of course, I didn't have any brain and I didn't do it. Or I didn't have any guts at the time. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so now getting back to, so get to know the area. Now getting back to the 25% down on multifamilies, asking me if I do. On some of the multifamilies I've been buying because I'm paying cash for them, I'm not putting anything down. I'm putting minimal down, 10%. Because I'm buying distressed properties that need money into them. So I'll go to a private lender. I'll use Ron it was 500,000. So if I'm putting 100,000 into it, that's 600. I'll say to the lender, "Well, you loan me 450. You loan me 400." Now the lender's going to look at it and say, "Okay, I only do 65% loan to value, 75% loan to value." So the lender will look at the property and say, "Yeah, you know, I've for the most part they're going to loan 75% loan to value, where you're going to have to put down 25%. But loan to value is what it's worth after you fix it up. So if I buy a piece of property that's 500,000, I pay for it, and it's worth 700. The loan to value on that might be the 450 that they'll give you. So I don't necessarily put down 25%. Now that being said, the 39 unit I just bought, I did put down 25% because that was not a private loan. That was a commercial loan with a bank. So I had to put down 25% of the $3.5 million. So I had to put down whatever that, 900,000. I didn't have 900,000 sitting around. What I did is I had a lot of properties that had a lot of equity that I was able to borrow against. So that's where I got the money from. But yeah, for the most part, I don't put down 25% because I use private money. I use investors to buy the property. And then after I fix them up, I convert them to conventional mortgages. So that's how I've been doing it. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's been working for me for now. The other thing that's the reason why it's working for me right now is that there's a lot of private money lenders out there that have no place to loan their money to because there's not a lot of product out there. There's not a lot of houses out there. So a lot of private money lenders are maybe stepping outside of their box and doing a little extra lending that they might normally not do. So if all of a sudden there's a bunch of houses on the market, auction houses, they may say to me, "Jeff, I don't have the money to lend to you for these multifamilies because I'm loaning it on the single families." They prefer to loan on the single families because two things. One is a lot of them charge extra points up front plus the interest rate, and it's a quick turnaround. So they get their money back to reinvest and loan to somebody else. So that's why the market is helping me right now with that. So let's see. I have not gotten the back rent from the crazy tenant yet, but I am, so I'm not worried about it. How am I finding my deals? I'm having yes. So right now there are no deals out there. There are no in this market right now. I looked this morning. There has not been a new house listed in a month in Rhode Island, multifamily. There's single families, but even right now the market is so low right now. So a lot of my deals are word of mouth. It's somebody that knows that I'm an investor, knows that I buy properties, and they'll contact me. That's where I've gotten the last 2 or 3 of my properties. Where people just say to me, "Hey, Jeff, are you interested in this property?" before I put it on the market. So that's because right now it's tough to find anything. It's tough. I have 3 agents that work for me, and they can't find me anything right now. Well, yeah, so I guess Indianapolis would make sense. It's a big city, great markets. LA is wicked expensive. Yeah, so I would never invest in California because you're right, it's ridiculously expensive. My brother lives in California up near San Francisco, and the properties are way out of whack up there. But you're right. Arizona, I know, is a good place to invest. A lot of growth in Arizona, a ton of growth in Arizona. Great place to invest. And of course, there's some places in Florida, Texas. But yeah, all right, that makes sense though. Indiana and Indianapolis, it makes sense to invest there. Again, if you know the area, and if it's something where you're just investing money and you're gonna have somebody manage it for you, then why not? I agree with that. So the condo in LA cost you $315,000, but I bet you that condo today is probably $500,000 because the way that the market in LA is, it's unbelievable. I'm not in New Hampshire. I'm in Rhode Island, but I'd love to be in New Hampshire. That's a place where I'm looking to. So in February, COVID is going to make some real estate. So here's the problem with COVID. Just like the tenants at tenant relief, you have investors where the banks have been giving them a moratorium, working with them. The auctions have been on hold for over a year and a half. I mean, I used to go to 8 auctions a day, 40 a week. Andrew and Mike, who worked for me, we used to split up. We'd all go to auctions. So we'd go to 100 auctions a week. Now we're lucky if there's 5. So it's all because of COVID. No one's foreclosing because people are getting breaks. They're getting, for obvious reasons. So there has not been that many auctions. And that's a problem. And you know, in the multifamily auctions are very few and far between. I've been to maybe four, though, and of course I bought two myself at multifamily auctions, but they're few and far between multifamilies. Yeah, that the problem is the COVID has held everything off. I believe this spring the auctions are going to come back. They're going to. My conferences have come back for my audiovisual business. Everything else is coming back. Business is starting to come back. People are sick of it. So even with COVID, we get masks. You know what? Just live your life. And you know, and that's all you can do because I mean, they're going to come back. The auctions have to come back. Didn't think of the time is getting through probate, so things open up. Yeah, things are going to open up in the next couple of months. They have to. They have to. You know, the banks can't survive by not collecting their mortgages either. I mean, you know, really. So things are going to open up. Auctions are going to open up. I can't wait to go back to the auctions. I enjoyed going to the auctions. In fact, I think that's why I have so much time on my hands now because I'm not going to auctions. So that's yeah. I know. Omicron says differently, but that's okay. Even the Omicron, so I don't know a lot about it. I haven't really been following it, but I guess it's not as bad symptoms as the actual the coronavirus. And people, it's almost like a cold. People getting a cold, I guess. I'm actually getting my booster this Wednesday. I decided to get my booster, so I'm going to go get it this Wednesday. And I mean, I just want to keep moving forward. I want to keep moving forward, and I have to. I have to because eventually this is going to be gone, and I want my kids, who are 15 and 12. I want them to see that you have to persevere. That's the word, persevere. And this is going to be gone someday, and they have to work someday and get back to work. So I want them to see that. You know what I'm saying? I want them to see you have to get your booster before we meet. So that's right. We'll be booster buddies. So the thing is, I want my kids to see my example. That my wife and I work. We kept working through COVID. We're working now. We're living our lives. We're moving forward, and I want my kids to see that. So someday, 12 years ago, it was the banking crisis. Now it's COVID. Maybe in 10 years, it's going to be something else. So they have to be equipped with the tools to move forward and work hard and get past whatever crisis comes our way. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so that's the story with that. I mean, that's why I want my kids to see. I just work. I just keep going. And it's kind of nice because they see I just I do my thing. So you've had 5 COVID, so it's interesting. So even like my daughter got COVID back in April before the kids were getting vaccinated. She got it. The school contacted us. Because that's when they all went back to school, and of course they all got it when they went back to school. And we all quarantined. We stayed at home and quarantined. And of course that's actually when I think I started staying home and enjoying it and liking it and doing everything on TikTok. But anyway, we were my son didn't get it, my wife didn't get it, and I didn't get it. And my daughter was in her room, and we would shove the food under her door. She had a lot of pancakes. Well, it didn't start out as pancakes. By the time she got it, it was pancakes. I know. Wait, hold on. All right, it's my toy that I got for Christmas. Anyway, yeah. So I'm recording this one. This one's being recorded. I'll put it back on. I'll put it on my YouTube later. Yeah, humanity is always going to have a crisis, so we have to be equipped to deal with it. And I think for the most part, with COVID, we dealt with it the best we could. It's something new. Nobody had any history of this. Nobody knew what to do. So we all, I think, dealt with it the best and are still dealing with it the best we can. It's all learning from the government agencies, from anybody, businesses. It's all learning. We're all learning. So hopefully in the next time we'll be handled better. But that's the story with that. I mean, it is what it is. What are you supposed to do? It is what it is. So, yeah. If aliens show up, the stock market will crash and everyone stop paying their rent. Why not? I got to tell you though, what's interesting is throughout the year and a half that it really affected my business, most of my tenants paid. There was only like 6 tenants that couldn't pay. And I worked with them because they legitimately couldn't pay. It was just the last few months where everyone's applying for the rent relief when the unemployment ran out, or the bonus unemployment. That's when everyone started applying for rent relief. So people were really making an effort to pay their rent, and I appreciate that. And that's why people say you never talk about the good tenants. Well, I guess it's hard to talk about people that did the right thing. I talk about the people that did the wrong thing, the two people. But it's hard to talk about the people that do the right thing because they do the right thing. I had so many tenants do the right thing, so many good tenants do the right thing. And what's the right thing? It's like me. The right thing is this morning I paid my bills. I paid my car loan. I paid my mortgages. I paid my cable bill. I paid my cell bill. That's the right thing, paying the bills. So when I talk about doing the right thing, just they paid their bills, which you're supposed to do. Do I believe in intelligent aliens? Yeah, I think there's life forms out there. I don't know how intelligent they are, but there's definitely life forms out there. I mean, I think there's evidence of that, but I never really thought about it that much. That's a good question. That's a real good question. Now you got something that we're gonna have to contemplate. Anyway, so that's so that's the story with all that. Well, that's exactly, the universe is huge. The universe, I mean, look at the universe. We're just one little planet. That's why Men in Black is such a great series of movies. It's just such really cool series of movies. It's fun, but it does ask the question. Is there intelligent life form out there? Anyway, so that's the story with that tonight. So yeah, am I going to buy digital real estate in the metaverse? So it's funny because I mean that's almost like the cryptocurrency. I don't know much about it. But it's kind of like the same thing. I would buy real estate if they built something on the moon. I'd invest in that. Like a moon colony or something like that. Because there are so many people that want to go there. Think about it. How did I fund my investment property? So at the very beginning, it was private money. I borrowed money from private investors because I didn't have good credit and I didn't have the credit or the cash. So I borrowed from private investors. I built a relationship. It doesn't happen overnight. I started in 2006, so it's been 15 years. But I borrowed money from private investors. And, so I'll tell you a couple of things that I do. Whenever I buy a piece of property, the first question I ask the seller or the agent for the seller is, are you willing to hold the note yourself? Are you willing to be the bank for me? Now, I've had 5 occasions where people have done that. The very first building, and I'll tell you where I got the idea from it. It was not my idea. The very first building I bought, the 10-unit building, the people that sold it that were retiring said to me, we're selling our building, and it's our retirement, and we want you to pay us over 10 years. It's going to be 4% over 10 years, and this is what you're paying. It ended up being like $3,500 a month for 10 years. And they told me that they were holding the mortgage for me, and that's what they wanted. And that's what I did. I wrote them a check, 120 payments. I wrote them a check for 10 years, 120 payments. When I was done paying for that in 2000, when did I step in 1998, about 2008, yeah, it was when I done paying for it. Now it was paid for. I was able to use that property to borrow against to buy more property. So on one hand, it was a 10-year mortgage. It was a lot of money, $3,600, because it wasn't making that much money. But that was my first investment, and that was my first introduction to a seller holding the note, holding the paper, becoming the bank. So now I ask the questions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If they have a mortgage, they can't do it. In that particular case, they didn't have a mortgage, they could do it. But I have another property I own right now where the seller did the same thing. He said, look, I'm retired, I want a monthly payment, and that's what he did. So that's another way of financing property. Ask the question, are you willing to hold the mortgage? They might say, well, I want a certain amount of money down, so then you have to scrape up the money to put down. But again, it's a lot cheaper doing it that way than borrowing from the bank. The bank has all the fees, the appraisal fees, this fee, that fee. When you do a private mortgage, all you're doing is you're paying a legal fee to do the note, and that's it. So that's something to think about too. You're having a hard time getting your office accepted. So what's happening right now is, believe me, I am too, because people are paying too much. So what happens? I make an offer based on. I don't get the fever. So here's what happened a lot of times too. You go to a house and there's a bunch of people. The real estate agents play this game where they do the showing where you have 10 people looking at the same time. So they think, oh, good, there's a lot of competition. We'll get somebody to give a high offer. I won't do that. I figure out how much they're asking, how much is coming in, what my expenses are, how much it's going to cost me, what am I going to make a month. And that's my offer. And that's it. And I tell them, but the only difference with my offer is it's a cash offer. I can close in 2 weeks, and you'll sell the place in 2 weeks. And I don't care what the basement looks like. I don't care if it's a mess. I buy it, no contingencies. I'll buy it because what happens? I close it, I clean it out. If you can get yourself in that position, you will buy property. Because a lot of sellers are older people, retired people. They don't want to deal with the mess. They don't want to deal with cleaning out their basement. They don't want to deal with fixing a hot water heater, or fixing this. They want to know they got a check and they walked away from the building, and they're happy at that point. I just bought 2 properties that way. Oh, I'm on fire. Ooh, feels good. Um, that's funny. Yeah, that's really funny. Hey, you know what's funny about that? Can you hear the song I'm playing in the background?
I'm playing Johnny Cash, The Ring of Fire. So that's funny.
I have my Pandora. I have my Spotify music list that I play in the background, just to have some background noise when I'm on here. So I keep it low. I don't think you guys can hear it with this microphone. But I always thought about plugging it in and playing it soft, but I don't want to annoy people because I have a crazy eclectic taste in music. So people don't like my music.
It is a good tune. Ring of Fire is a good tune, It's one that I sing in karaoke. So if anybody knows, I like karaoke. So that's one of my karaoke songs, Ring of Fire. Anyway, so yeah, as far as houses having structural issues, so
because of the amount of houses I purchase or property purchase, when I do the initial walkthrough, I will look at it then before I make my offer. You can tell if there's structural cracking in the foundation or rotted out joists in the basement or cross beams. And yeah, my offer is based on that. Because I'll say that. So look, you got some structural problems downstairs. It's going to cost me $50,000. So that's why I'm not going to offer you $600,000 you're asking for the $400,000 property. So yes, absolutely.
Listen, if I start singing karaoke, everyone will be out. Okay, if I start singing karaoke, you're going to have. I'm going to have crickets. That's what you're going to have if I start singing karaoke. The oldest building, I'm willing to buy. So my very first property, I keep referring to tonight just because it happens. That building was built in 1770 before the American Revolution. 1770 is a historic piece of property. It was a fish market. So I'm not afraid of buying old properties. I have another piece of property that I never sell properties. I sold a piece of property about a year ago, only because I couldn't pass up the offer. I bought this property in 2008. The property was so old, it actually had the underground railroad. In the basement was a hidden room with an old Indian drum down there, and where they hid the slaves and stuff down there in this property. And it's in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. So I bought that property. I had it for about 10 years, and I paid $300,000 for it. And somebody came and offered me over $7 for it. I said, you know what? I can use that money for other investments. So I sold it. But anyway, 1960 is not too new. No. If you buy something in 1960 and it's in good shape, why not? They were building houses. In 1960, the technology was better in the houses, foundations were better, the joists were better, they're built stronger. So no, that's not too new. That's okay. You're good. Not too bad at all. So,
hey Jeff, how's it going downstairs? Oh, are you still here, Jack? It's going good. If you want to come down and see me, Jack is on TikTok. He's visiting upstairs, so if he wants, he can come downstairs and visit. Jack actually is the one who actually taught me a little bit how to do TikTok. He's a good guy. So he's the boyfriend of Lisa, and Lisa's the one who took care of our kids during COVID. She came over every day when they were virtually learning in school, and she made sure they did their work and stuff. So Jack is Lisa's boyfriend. He's a senior in high school here in Cranston, and so he's upstairs right now visiting, I guess, for the kid Christmas. Great guy. So Jack actually, like I said, he actually taught me some of the TikTok stuff, and he does my social media for me, helps me out with my social media. So anyway, so that's the story with that. So what was I saying? So I do look at the structure of a building before I buy it. But again, because of my experience, and even when I go look at it, I know I'm really seriously interested in a property. I'll bring one of my contractors with me too to tell me, hey, do this, Jeff, do that, Jeff, and then I make my offer on it. And it is what it is. I'll tell you why. What happens is the other way is somebody will make an offer on a property, then they have somebody come in, a home inspector or whatever comes in, and they'll find everything wrong with it. And then what's going to happen? They're going to talk me out of buying the property. I'd rather buy it, get a good price on it, whatever it needs, I'll fix it.
That's worked out better for me more times than not. I can't say I've had a major problem with that. I mean, I don't mind buying properties that have structural problems as long as I know I can fix it. What do I care? Good example is the 39. Who would spend $3 million buying a property that's empty, a 39 unit piece of property that's empty because the deck is falling down? Who would do that, right? So no, what happened was we had already done the research. We know how we're going to fix the deck, and of course we're going to start getting that place rented right away anyway. A lot of the work's already been done anyway on it. So here's a story with that. I've talked about this before, whether I'm handy or not. I will never make anybody do something I won't do. So that being said, yes, when I started early on, I built walls, I built petitions, I built bedrooms, I built closets. They weren't great, but I got by. So I am handy that way. I'm also handy for last year, I talk about this. Last year on Christmas Day, one of my 6-unit apartment houses, the heat broke. It was one heating system for the whole house. All the tenants were calling. I felt really bad, felt really guilty. So I went over there and I did a Google search, and I found that it was a gas valve that was bad. So we happened to have one at the shop in an old heater. I watched a YouTube video, literally. Andrew was with me. We watched the YouTube video, learned how to remove the old one, and we went over there and we installed it into the heating system and got it up and running. So we got the heat going. At least that way to keep the people going until we get a plumber over there. That being said, we've come up with other ways of solving that problem. What I should have done, and what I will do in the future, and actually this is conversations that we've been having at the office, is if a heating system breaks at one of the houses like even tonight, rather than trying to fool around with it, to immediately stop the problem, we'll give everybody portable electric heaters to keep the building warm. Then we start working on the problem. So that's something that we learned over the years. So my property managers know that if they get an emergency call, there's no heat, get over there with electric heaters, get them up and running with heat, and then we can work on solving the problem. But yeah, I can fix a lot of stuff. I can fix plumbing. I can fix electrical, at least on a temporary basis, because I have been handy over the years. I told about the story about how I fixed the plumbing one time, where I had to climb underneath the house and fix the plumbing. Have I bought a house and lost all my money? No, I've never lost my money on a house. I have broken even. I'll give you an example. I bought a house. Well, even that I didn't lose money. So I bought a house about 2.5 years ago, a duplex, and before COVID, and we started working on it. And what happened was, right after we started working on it, we did a lot of work to it. A truck was driving up the road and lost control and drove right through the foundation of the house, which then made the house uninhabitable. So I got insurance money for that, obviously, and then I turned around and I sold the house as is to somebody else. So I didn't lose money, and I made a little bit of money on it. But I was able to fix, with the insurance money, I was able to fix what I had to fix with it so I could sell the house. And then I decided I don't want to finish fixing up that house. It's jinxed, it's this, it's that. I found a better place to have my guys work. So I've never lost money on a house, ever. I have to say, never. But have I made less than what I expected to make? Yeah. I mean, I have a house that I renovate. I have a house right now on the market that we renovated, and the bathrooms in the house suck. It's an old farmhouse. The bathrooms are terrible. And we did everything in the house except for the bathrooms, but I keep getting feedback that nobody likes the bathrooms. So this week, we're going to go in there, we're going to gut the bathrooms out and rebuild the bathrooms and make 2 brand new bathrooms in there. So I'm going to make less on that house than I expected to. But you know what, though? It is what it is. So I don't look at it per house. Because I'm a house flipper, a lot of house flippers will do it. Look at the house. This house, I made that. That house, I made this. I don't do it that way. At the end of the year, did I make a profit? That's all I care about. But individually, I've never lost money on a house. But I will say I make less on some than I make on others. And that's just the nature of the beast. And I have no problem with that. What's more important to me is asset value. And I only know that because I just have terrible cash flow. Because what I do is every time I have cash, I buy another piece of property. So I leave myself cash poor a lot of times. For me, it's asset. I'd rather put more cash into it and have more equity in the property. That helped me back in 2008 during the banking crisis when I had 5 or 6 properties and I had to go and renegotiate with the banks. I had a lot of equity. If I didn't have a lot of equity, they would have just said, well, screw you, we're foreclosing, we're taking the property. But I had a lot of equity, so I didn't lose anything. But I do like having the value of the asset being higher. And
regarding the cash flow, I take my cash and put it into the asset. So, this one to 39 units, I'm doing granite and stainless steel appliances. So that immediately is going to be, $10,000 apartment investment in each apartment. So again, that's cash flow, negative cash flow, but the asset value is going to increase.
So for me, it's asset value. All right, so listen, go clean your tiny condo, and if you have to leave, just watch my video later on YouTube. And yes, we will meet when I'm in California. That'll be fun. That'll be a good time.
I went to Cape Cod this summer and met one of my TikTok followers, which was really cool. He invited me out there and had a great time. How much cash you bought before buying a flip house? Meaning, should I have enough for the? You want enough for the renovations. If you have enough money to do the renovations, then an investor will be happy about your putting the money in for the renovations. Some investors, some private money investors insist on loaning you the money for the renovations. So even if you have that money saved, say you're buying the house for $200,000, you have 50 saved. The investor might say, "Well, we're going to loan you the 250 because they want to make the interest on it." Investors, that's their business. They want to make money, so they might insist, "Hey, I'm going to loan you the money, but we're loaning you everything." And you know what? Don't turn them down. Take it, because that investor will be there now. As long as you pay them on time, they'll be there for the rest of your life because you're making them money. That's what their job is. Their business is loaning money. Here's some money. I make profit. So there's nothing wrong with that. So even now, I have a couple of investors that insist and give me the they don't do it as much now as they used to because they realize I'll just go to another investor. But they used to insist that I borrow the renovation money, and I won't. So finding a good investor is somewhat difficult. Sometimes it's word of mouth. I will tell you, I found a couple investors early on Craigslist. That was one place I found an investor. Real estate agents always seem to know hard money investors. So if you're working with a real estate agent, you tell them, "Look, I want to start investing in property. Do you know any private money lenders?" A good busy real estate agent should have a few that they can refer you to. And that's how I would look. I would start with a real estate agent and say, "Look, where can I find an investor?" Because they know, because they're in the business, And you know what? Sometimes they get a cut. So investors, lenders, private money lenders, they charge 2 or 3 points if you're new to them. I don't pay it now, but expect to pay it when you're new, and pay it because you're building a relationship. It's worth every penny. Because don't look at the individual deal. Look at your future. Look how many deals you'll do with this person. I have investors that I've done 50 deals with, okay? And once you build a relationship with them, they're not going to charge you the points. But anyway, up front, they charge 2 or 3 points. One of those points might go to whoever referred you, and that's okay too, because you built a relationship. That's important. So a lot of contractors, very good point, because I have a couple guys that work for me, and one of my guys is fantastic carpenter, knows everything, knows electrical, plumbing, but same thing, didn't know much about the flip house business, so I helped him out, where he helps me out and teaches me and also the rest of my staff so much. I helped him out with the other end of it, is the private money and that type of thing. So, hey, Lone Wolf, hey, let's see, Napoleon Bonaparte. Oh, there you go. Hey, so again, we're the construction business. Well, that's just like anything else. I mean, I know electricians that are fantastic electricians, fantastic plumbers, but they don't know how to run a business. And if they had somebody helping them run their business, they could all be running to the bank with their money. A lot of times they're like, "Hey, I'm doing the work. Why should I pay somebody else to manage my money?" But see, I'm not like that. I look at the whole picture. So same thing here. If you get a private investor and they're charging you a few extra dollars, do it the one time. You're going to make money, especially on the flip house. You can go back to them, or in the meantime, you can find somebody else. But that's what I would do. See, a lot of people do know their own remodeling business or their own plumbing business, their own electrical business, but they don't know the real estate of it, the buying, the selling, handling the real estate. That's why it's kind of nice, because a lot of the people I hire are people that had their own remodeling business, but they just didn't know how to do the real estate. And so then they learn from us. And anytime they want to buy a piece of property, I help them. I encourage it, because then they really see the ins and the outs of what I have to go through. But let's see. All right, I got 5 more minutes and I gotta go. But this was a good one tonight. I really enjoyed the questions. I hope that I helped out people. It's funny, I don't get a lot of tenant questions. I always thought I'd get a lot more tenant
Is there a business model for a semi-retired landlord that is very successful just to help people? It's a very, very good. That's an excellent question. So if you're semi-retired and you just want to help people that are investors, you could offer your services. I mean, when you think about it, you can say, look, even property management, and like I was talking about earlier, there are different property management companies out there, and there's different levels of service and what they offer. Some just offer to talk to the tenants, deal with the tenants, collect the rent, and that's it. Some will offer to maintain the property. That could be something that you could do if you offer to somebody, look, I'll maintain your property for you. So I'll collect the rent, I'll pay you the rent every month. You don't have to have the headaches. There are so many people that want to own property, but just don't want, and of course it is a great investment, it's a great retirement plan, but don't want the headaches of dealing with the tenants. And I will tell you, even for me, if I didn't have Andrew, Tim, Lisa, Jasmine, Heather, if I didn't have them working for me right now, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would have another company managing my properties, because I started getting burnt out dealing with the tenants, the bullshit, I started, and it's not all of the tenants, of course, it's always a select few, the bad ones ruin it for the good ones, the whole story. But again, you get burned out, So I have employees and I have subs, and I like the mix of both, because my employees keep everything going on a regular daily basis. But when we have a big project, like right now, I have 2 apartments that I'd like to get done quick. I like to hire subs. Here you go, take this project, finish it for me, move on. So there's so much work for my employees that the subs don't intimidate the employees, and vice versa. I have 2 people that worked for me that started out as subs, and guess what? They're full-time employees, okay? Because that's how much work I gave them. They became full-time employees. I paid them enough. Again, why should I chase the work out there? Just pay me enough. And believe me, that's valuable when you can find somebody like that. So I have 2 employees right now that had their own businesses, and they work for me full-time. And you know what? I respect the fact that they had their own businesses. First of all, they teach me a lot. I can ask them a lot of questions. So when you have 200 units and you have 3 of us, I have 300 units. I have 3 property managers, but then I have all my maintenance guys. I have a whole staff of 14, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, but they also do my flip houses as well. So it sounds about right. My thought is I want to have 1 property manager for every 100 units. So right now, that's why we're hiring another property manager. 20 residential properties. Next step, beach house. So yeah, VRBO. So I happen to have a beach house that I bought at the auction 2 years ago, and I didn't buy it for myself as a beach house. It was purely, I bought it to flip it. I bought this house to flip it, but after I bought it, I realized how valuable it was as a rental. So it's near the college, so I rent it to college kids in the winter, and in the summer it's a weekly beach rental, because it's literally right on the beach. It's a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom, huge house. And I could flip it if I wanted to, but I want to keep it. I want to keep it right now. So I would say, it's up to you what you want to do. If you have 20 residential properties, I mean, I don't know, apartments, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with apartments. I mean, every time I buy one, I'm still renting the apartments. Though what I am noticing lately is, obviously, the nicer apartments rent quicker, so it's worth us to fix up all the apartments, and they rent nice and quick. And by the way, and that's the difference between the bad landlords and the good landlords. We fix up our apartments, we make them really nice. So obviously people want to live in our apartments because they're really nice. And then because they want to live in our apartments, they want to pay the rent on time. It's a domino effect. So that's important for a landlord or an investor to realize. Keep the apartment nice, and you'll keep your tenants happy, and they're not going to want to leave. Because where's a tenant? If they're not going to buy a house, they can live in an apartment with stainless steel blinds, with granite countertops, nice brand new bathroom, good heating system, air conditioning. There's no reason for them to leave. And I always keep my rents competitive, just below market value. I like to keep them a little competitive, and I can be picky as to who I rent to. So anyway, all right, I have to get going. But again, I want to remind anybody, if you have any questions and you want to send me questions, just do it on any of my TikToks, because I go through them and I do read the questions. I write them down and save them, and I'll respond. I'll respond to the questions. Like I said, I was surprised I didn't see many tenants on there today, because I like to answer tenants' questions. Before you leave, what's your back? Oh, okay, I'll show you again. I got this for Christmas for my wife. It's a cup. My job is interfering with my TikTok career, because everybody at the office teases me because they don't see me that much. That's because I'm on the road. What I've been doing every day, I'll just say,
So even tomorrow I'm doing it. I have to go to like 4 different properties because we have 9 projects going on. So I stop in each one. I take a look at what the progress is, what the next step is. So I do that every morning now. So I'm not in the office that much, you know. Yeah, so it's pretty good. That's in fact my wife gave me 2 interesting things for Christmas. She gave me the cup, and she also gave me this thing right here that has the sound effects. See, that's the crowd going wild because they love me. You know what I'm saying? And then of course when I tell a really bad joke, I got that, and then and if I really tell a real bad joke.
So anyway, so that's the story with that. So, but yeah, I mean, this week, definitely you're going to see a lot of TikToks about progress that we're making on some of the properties, some of the projects that we're working on, where I'm buying some of the supplies from, how we're making some decisions as to what we're going to do. But my goal is when I buy a property to get it rented. I bought a property and then closed it in November. 7 units. They were empty except for one. What happened was the person who owned the property died, and the family wanted to just sell the property. So as tenants moved out, they never re-rented the apartments. One person stayed. So my goal there was to get that re-rented. How am I going to buy a 7-unit, have a mortgage on it with nobody coming in, no rent coming in? So that's what we're working on right now, getting that property rented, and that's what I do. But I always like to leave 1 unit empty so I can fix that one, and then I always offer the new renovated apartments to somebody who's already living in the building. If they like the building, they want to move, then that gives me a chance to fix their apartment up. So, thank you very much. Yes to pizza. I like pizza too. So I would vote yes to pizza as well. But anyway,
I appreciate everyone thanking me. And again, what I say is it's not all knowing. I'm not all knowing. I just tell you my experiences, what's happened with me, how I've obtained some of the properties, what I do to fix up some of the properties.
mistakes I've made, through the years. I like to share
Share that too, so that way nobody else makes the same mistakes. But owning real estate is obviously it's a great thing because it's a tangible asset. It doesn't fluctuate absolutely, but it doesn't fluctuate like the stock market, and so that's the story with that. So I appreciate everybody watching me and following me and staying on here so long tonight. And it is going to be on my YouTube channel probably in about an hour or so when I upload it. If you missed anything, you want to see it. And again, if you have a trouble falling asleep, just watch my TikToks. I guarantee you'll fall asleep right away. So thank you.